Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the son of the Great War, born from God and the original Satanael Naruto x Gabriel, High School DxD. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Awakening. Naruto Uzumaki knew something was wrong the moment he woke up on his 17th birthday. The air in his small apartment felt charged, like right before a lightning strike. His skin buzzed with energy he couldn't name. "What the hell?" he muttered, rolling out of bed and nearly collapsing as pain shot through his body. He stumbled to the bathroom mirror and froze. His normally bright blue eyes flickered between crimson red and a brilliant gold that seemed to glow from within. The whisker marks on his cheeks had deepened, appearing almost like black cracks in his skin. "Kurama?" Naruto called out internally to the nine-tailed fox sealed inside him. "You doing this?" The fox's voice rumbled back, uncharacteristically concerned. "This isn't me, kid. Something else is happening. Something older than me." Naruto splashed water on his face, trying to calm down. Whatever this was, he'd deal with it like he always did. But as he raised his hand, he noticed a strange pattern forming on his palm, a spiral that wasn't his usual seal, shimmering with both light and darkness. A knock at his door pulled him from his thoughts. "Naruto. You coming or what?" Sakura's voice called from outside. "Everyone's waiting at Ichiraku for your birthday breakfast." "Yeah, just a minute," he shouted back, quickly pulling on his jacket and gloves to hide the strange markings. Whatever was happening, he didn't need to worry his friends just yet. Across dimensions, in a realm of pure light, the Seraphim Council convened in urgent session. "It's happening," announced Michael, his 12 golden wings folding behind his back as he addressed the assembly. "The abomination has begun to awaken." Gabriel stood silently among her siblings, her silver blonde hair cascading around her shoulders as she listened. Unlike the others, whose faces showed disgust or righteous anger, she felt only curiosity. "The spawn of both our father and the deceiver," continued Michael. "A being that should never have existed. We've monitored it since birth, but now the power within begins to stir." "What would you have us do, brother?" asked Raphael. "The human vessel must be eliminated before it fully awakens," Michael declared. "The balance between realms depends on it." Gabriel stepped forward. "If I may speak, this being has lived 17 years as a human. Shouldn't we first observe? Understand what we're dealing with before rushing to judgment?" Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Gabriel had always been compassionate, but questioning direct intervention was unusual even for her. Michael's gaze softened slightly. "Your heart is kind, sister. But your kindness might doom us all." He turned to the council. "However, observation before action has merit. Gabriel, you will go to the human realm. Assess the threat. If the abomination shows signs of instability or demonic influence, you are authorized to eliminate it." Gabriel bowed her head, golden light already gathering around her as she prepared for descent. "I will do as you ask, brother." What she didn't say was that she had no intention of killing anyone without absolute proof they deserved it, no matter whose child they might be. Naruto tried his best to act normal as his friends gathered around him at Ichiraku Ramen. Sakura, Sai, and Kakashi were all there, along with several others from his generation of ninja. 17, huh? Kakashi mused, his visible eye crinkling with a smile. "Seems like just yesterday you were that loud-mouthed kid failing the graduation exam." "He's still loud-mouthed," Sakura teased, nudging Naruto with her elbow. Naruto grinned, but it faltered as another wave of pain hit him. He gripped the counter edge, knuckles white. "You okay?" Sakura asked, medic instincts kicking in as she studied his face. "Yeah, just birthday jitters or something," Naruto lied, shoving a massive bite of ramen into his mouth to avoid more questions. Inside his mind, Kurama growled. Your chakra is changing, kid. I can feel it. This isn't normal, even for a Jinchuriki. Naruto knew the fox was right. Beyond the pain, he felt different. More aware. Like he could suddenly perceive things beyond normal senses. The chakra of everyone around him appeared as vivid colors and textures. Sakura's was a disciplined green, Kakashi's a sharp electric blue. But more disturbing, he could see other things. Faint shadows moving behind people, whispers of presence where nothing should be. I need some air, he muttered, standing abruptly and heading outside. In the street, the sensations only intensified. The whole village seemed alive with currents of energy he'd never noticed before. And something else, a sense of being watched. Not by Anbu or other ninja, but by something much, much farther away. A flash of gold caught his attention from atop the Hokage monument. Something, or someone, was up there, radiating power unlike anything he'd ever felt. Without thinking, Naruto leapt to the nearest rooftop and began racing toward the mountain. Gabriel settled atop the stone faces overlooking the village, her 12 wings invisible to most human eyes as she folded them against her back. The transition to the material world always felt restrictive, like trading the freedom of flight for movement underwater. But she adapted quickly, her senses extending throughout the village. It took her only moments to locate her target. The spiritual signature was unmistakable, a swirling storm of energies that should never have mixed. Divine light and primordial darkness, coexisting in one human form. Interesting, she murmured. You're already aware enough to sense me. She watched as the blonde-haired young man leapt across rooftops with inhuman speed, heading directly toward her position. His aura flared with each movement, golden-white light shot through with streaks of midnight power. Gabriel stood, materialization complete. To human eyes, she now appeared as a strikingly beautiful woman with silver blonde hair and piercing violet eyes, dressed in simple white robes that seemed to shimmer with inner light. As Naruto landed on the mountaintop 30 feet away, she finally got a clear look at the abomination she'd been sent to judge, and found herself staring at a confused teenage boy with pain evident in his expression. Who are you? Naruto demanded, dropping into a defensive stance. And why does it feel like I should know you? Gabriel tilted her head. This wasn't the hostile reception she'd expected. My name is Gabriel. And you feel that way because part of you does know me, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's eyes widened. How do you? He cut off with a gasp, doubling over as another wave of pain hit him. To Gabriel's surprise, she stepped forward instinctively, concern overriding caution. Your awakening is happening too rapidly. It's tearing you apart. Awakening? What are you talking about? Naruto gritted through clenched teeth. Is this some kind of jutsu? Are you with Akatsuki? Gabriel shook her head. I'm not your enemy, though many would say I should be. I'm an angel, a messenger and warrior of heaven. Naruto barked a laugh despite his pain. Right. And I'm the sage of 6 paths. But even as sarcasm left his lips, something deep inside him resonated with her words. Something ancient and powerful stirred in response to her presence. You don't believe me, Gabriel stated simply. That's understandable. But the pain you're feeling, the changes in your perception, the new abilities manifesting, they're all happening because of what you truly are. And what's that? Naruto challenged, straightening despite the pain. Gabriel met his gaze directly. You are the son of the Great War itself. Born from the essence of both God and the original Satanael. Neither fully divine nor fully demonic, but something that has never existed before. Naruto stared at her, 100 questions forming. But before he could voice any of them, the sky above Konoha darkened unnaturally. A pressure descended, heavy and malevolent. Gabriel's head snapped up, her expression hardening. They've found you already. Faster than I expected. Who's found me? Naruto demanded, following her gaze to the darkening sky. Hell's vanguard, Gabriel replied grimly. They've sensed your awakening too. The air split open like a wound, and creatures poured through, humanoid figures with leathery wings and twisted features, their eyes burning with unholy fire. Son of our master, the lead demon called out. We've come to escort you to your rightful throne. Naruto gaped at the invading forces, then turned to Gabriel. What the hell is going on? Exactly that, she replied, her form beginning to glow with heavenly light. Hell is what's going on. And they want you as their prince. Across Konoha, alarms blared as the demonic invasion began. Ninja mobilized, but their jutsu seemed to pass through the winged invaders like smoke. These weren't enemies, they were equipped to fight. Kakashi appeared beside Tsunade at the Hokage Tower, Sharingan exposed and tracking the movements of the creatures. What are we dealing with? Tsunade demanded. Not sure, Kakashi admitted. They're not using chakra as we understand it. My Sharingan can see them, but barely. It's like they're partially in another dimension. And they're after Naruto, Tsunade stated grimly. Of course they are. Hokage-sama, an ANBU appeared kneeling before them. Naruto Uzumaki has been spotted on the Hokage monument with an unknown woman. The invaders seem to be converging there. Tsunade nodded. All forces, focus on civilian evacuation. Kakashi, take our best and head to Naruto's position. Whatever these things are, we can't let them get what they came for. On the monument, Naruto stared at the approaching demonic horde, mind racing. Why would they think I'm? Questions later, Gabriel cut him off, her form shifting as 6 brilliant white wings manifested from her back, a sword of pure light materializing in her hand. Right now, we need to stop them before they destroy this village just to get to you. Naruto nodded, pushing his confusion aside as he formed the hand sign for his signature technique. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of copies poofed into existence around him. But as the clones charged forward, something unexpected happened. Instead of his normal blue chakra, they blazed with gold and black energy. When they struck the first demons, the impact created explosions of light that actually seemed to harm the creatures. Whoa! Naruto exclaimed, watching his clones battle with new effectiveness. Gabriel glanced at him, surprise evident in her expression. You're adapting faster than I thought. You're channeling both divine and demonic energy. I have no idea what I'm doing, Naruto admitted, creating more clones. I'm just fighting like I always do. Gabriel smiled despite herself. That might be your greatest strength. Then she launched herself skyward, her sword cutting through demon after demon, each strike leaving trails of holy light that burned the creatures to ash. Naruto watched her move with a grace that seemed impossible, then turned his attention back to the battle. Following instinct, he held out his hand and began forming a Rasengan. But instead of the usual spiraling blue sphere, this one pulsed with golden light shot through with streaks of darkness. Let's try this, he shouted, leaping toward a cluster of demons. Divine Rasengan. The impact vaporized a dozen demons instantly and sent shockwaves across the sky that disrupted the portal they'd emerged from. Gabriel dispatched 3 more attackers, then flew to Naruto's side. Impressive. But there are too many, and more coming through. Then we close that portal, Naruto said, pointing at the tear in reality. We'd need to, Gabriel began, but Naruto cut her off. I've got this. Just keep them off me for a minute. Before she could object, Naruto sat down in a meditative pose, closing his eyes. Inside his mindscape, he confronted Kurama. Any ideas, Fox? We need to shut that thing. Kurama growled thoughtfully. This new power of yours, it's not chakra as we know it. It's more primal. Try channeling it directly into the tear, like sewing up a wound. Naruto nodded and opened his eyes, extending his awareness toward the dimensional rift. He could see it now, not just visually, but on some deeper level. The edges of reality frayed and torn open. Standing, he extended both hands toward the rift. From one palm streamed golden light, from the other, darkness that seemed to absorb all around it. "What are you doing?" Gabriel called, slashing through another demon. "No idea." Naruto shouted back. "But it feels right." The opposing energies shot from his hands, weaving together as they approached the rift. Where they touched the edges of the tear, reality began to stitch itself back together. The demons howled in rage, redoubling their efforts to reach Naruto. Gabriel spun in a circle around him, her sword a blur of light keeping the attackers at bay. "It's working," she called. "Keep going." Naruto gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face as he poured more power into the effort. The rift contracted, shrinking rapidly until, with a sound like thunder, it snapped closed entirely. The remaining demons found themselves cut off from reinforcements, and their advantage quickly disappeared. Between Naruto's enhanced clones and Gabriel's heavenly sword, the invaders were dispatched within minutes. As the last demon dissolved into ash, Naruto collapsed to his knees, exhausted but exhilarated. That was different. Gabriel landed beside him, her wings folding away as she returned to a more human appearance. She studied him with new interest. "You closed an interdimensional portal on instinct. That's not something even most angels can do." Naruto shrugged. "Lucky guess." Before Gabriel could respond, multiple figures landed around them, Kakashi, Sakura, and several ANBU. "Naruto." Sakura rushed forward. "Are you okay? What were those things?" Kakashi's gaze fixed on Gabriel. "And who exactly are you?" Gabriel straightened, meeting the Jonin's suspicious look. "My name is Gabriel. I'm here because Naruto Uzumaki is in danger, from forces your world has never encountered before." "She helped me fight them off," Naruto added, standing shakily. "Those weren't ninja or even people. They were demons," Gabriel finished. "Actual demons from hell. And they want Naruto." Silence fell over the group. Kakashi's visible eye narrowed. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation with the Hokage." The Hokage's office felt cramped with Tsunade, Kakashi, Sakura, Shizune, Naruto, and Gabriel all inside. Tsunade sat behind her desk, fingers steepled as she evaluated the white-robed stranger. "Let me get this straight," she said finally. "You're claiming to be an actual angel. From heaven?" Gabriel nodded. "I understand your skepticism, Lady Hokage. But after what your village just experienced, is it really so difficult to believe? And you're saying Naruto is, what exactly?" Tsunade continued. Gabriel glanced at Naruto, who stood uncomfortably by the window. "He is unique in all of creation. Born from the essence of both the divine and the demonic. A living bridge between heaven and hell." "That's impossible," Sakura interjected. "Naruto is Minato and Kushina's son. We know his parents." "His human parents, yes," Gabriel agreed. "But the power awakening within him comes from much older sources. The fourth Hokage and his wife were chosen vessels, whether they knew it or not." Naruto pressed his palms against his temples. "This is crazy. I'm just me. Just Naruto." "You are Naruto," Gabriel said gently. "But you're also more. What happened today, closing the portal, channeling both light and darkness, those aren't abilities any human should possess." Tsunade sighed heavily. "Assuming for a moment we believe all this, what happens now?" "Those demons said they wanted to take Naruto to some throne. And you," she fixed Gabriel with a hard stare, "what do your people want with him?" Gabriel met her gaze unflinchingly. "My original orders were to assess and potentially eliminate the threat." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Kakashi shifted subtly, ready to move if needed. "And now?" Tsunade asked coolly. "Now I believe that would be a mistake," Gabriel replied. "Naruto is not just the son of opposing forces, he might be the key to preventing a war that would consume all realms, including yours. Naruto looked up. What war? The war that has been brewing since the original schism between God and Satanael, Gabriel explained. A conflict put on hold only by the most delicate balance. Your existence, a being of both realms, threatens that balance. So I'm causing this? Naruto demanded. Gabriel shook her head. Your existence reveals the possibility of harmony between opposing forces. That terrifies extremists on both sides who depend on eternal conflict. The demons want to use you as a weapon, many in heaven want you destroyed before you can upset the established order. And what do you want? Naruto asked quietly. Gabriel paused, seeming surprised by the question. I want to understand. To see if there's a better path than endless opposition. Tsunade cleared her throat. As fascinating as theological debate might be, my priority is Konoha's safety. Will there be more attacks? Almost certainly, Gabriel nodded. Both sides will come for him now that his power is awakening. Then we prepare defenses, Tsunade decided. With respect, Hokage-sama, Gabriel said, your shinobi can't fight these enemies effectively. Even your most powerful techniques barely affect beings of pure spirit. We managed today, Kakashi pointed out. Because of Naruto, Gabriel corrected. His nature allowed him to affect them directly. And because I was here. Naruto stepped forward. If I'm putting the village in danger by staying, then I'll leave. Naruto, Sakura began to protest, but he cut her off. No, Sakura. I won't let Konoha suffer because of me. Not again. He turned to Gabriel. You know about all this stuff. Where can I go that these demons or angels or whatever won't find me? Gabriel considered him thoughtfully. Nowhere, ultimately. But there are places between realms where we might find answers, and where you could learn to control these new abilities. You'd go with me? Naruto asked, surprised. Someone needs to make sure you don't accidentally unmake reality while figuring out your powers, Gabriel replied with the hint of a smile. And I'm probably the only one from heaven who won't try to smite you on sight. Tsunade stood. I don't like this. Sending Naruto off with someone we just met, to places we don't understand. I don't like it either, Granny, Naruto admitted. But if this keeps happening, civilians will get hurt. And I need answers. After a long moment, Tsunade nodded reluctantly. 2 days. You have 2 days to prepare. And Kakashi goes with you. Gabriel frowned. A human would be, non-negotiable, Tsunade interrupted firmly. Naruto doesn't leave this village without Konoha representation. End of discussion. Gabriel looked like she wanted to argue but simply nodded. As you wish. That night, Naruto sat on his apartment roof, staring at the stars. The events of the day replayed in his mind, each more unbelievable than the last. His hand traced the strange markings that had appeared on his palm that morning, symbols that somehow felt ancient and familiar at once. He sensed Gabriel's arrival before he heard or saw her. Something about her presence registered on a level beyond his normal senses. Couldn't sleep, she asked, settling beside him with fluid grace. Would you? After finding out you're some kind of... I don't even know what to call it. Divine demonic hybrid doesn't roll off the tongue, Gabriel agreed. Naruto snorted. Yeah, not putting that on business cards. They sat in silence for a moment before Naruto spoke again. Was any of my life real? Or was I just some cosmic pawn from the beginning? Gabriel seemed to consider her words carefully. Your life was real, Naruto. Your choices, your bonds, your growth, all authentic. The power within you is awakening now, but the person you've become shaped how that power manifests. What does that mean? It means that someone else with your heritage might have become exactly what both heaven and hell fear, a destroyer of worlds. But you. She glanced at him, you instinctively used your power to protect. To close a rift rather than tear reality further apart. Naruto absorbed this. You said your orders were to eliminate me if necessary. Are you disobeying by helping me? Not exactly. I was sent to assess first, eliminate if needed. My assessment is that you're not a threat, at least, not the kind they fear. But yes, some would say I'm interpreting my orders, creatively. Why? Why help me? Gabriel looked up at the stars. Because in all my existence, I've followed orders without question. I've trusted that our way was the only way. But seeing you today, a being who should be torn apart by opposing forces, yet somehow harmonizing them, it made me wonder if there's more to understand. She turned to face him directly. The truth, Naruto Uzumaki, is that you shouldn't be possible. Yet here you are. And that makes me curious about what else we might be wrong about. Naruto smiled slightly. Being underestimated is kind of my specialty. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. Humility isn't, I take it. Nope. Ask anyone. His smile faded. So what happens next? We prepare to leave. There's a nexus point, a place where multiple realms overlap, where we might find answers about your nature. And possibly allies. Allies would be good. Not a fan of fighting solo against demon armies. Gabriel's expression turned serious. The demons are only the beginning, Naruto. Once heaven mobilizes, they won't send just one agent next time. Your family sounds complicated. You have no idea. Gabriel stood smoothly. Try to rest. Your body is still adapting to the changes. Tomorrow, we'll need to gather supplies for the journey. As she turned to leave, Naruto called after her. Gabriel? Thanks. For not, smiting me or whatever. She paused, looking back with an unreadable expression. Don't thank me yet. Our path forward isn't clear, and I'm not certain I'm doing the right thing. But I am certain that killing you wouldn't be right, and sometimes, that's all the clarity we get. With that, she vanished in a subtle flash of light, leaving Naruto alone with his thoughts and the stars above. The next day passed in a blur of preparation. Kakashi and Naruto gathered supplies while Gabriel consulted with Tsunade about what they might expect. The village remained on high alert, with patrols doubled and sensors monitoring for any sign of another incursion. Sakura cornered Naruto at his apartment as he packed. You're really going through with this? She demanded, arms crossed. Don't have much choice, Naruto replied, stuffing extra kunai into his pack. You always have a choice. That's your whole thing. Sakura's voice softened. Naruto, this woman shows up out of nowhere, tells you some crazy story about being the son of gods or whatever, and you're just going along with it. Naruto paused, looking at his hand where the strange markings pulsed faintly. You didn't see what happened up there, Sakura. The power that came out of me, it wasn't chakra. It wasn't the nine tails. It was something else. Something that felt both wrong and right at the same time. He met her concerned gaze. I need answers. And right now, Gabriel's the only one offering any. Just, be careful, okay? Don't trust her completely. That's why Kakashi-sensei's coming along, Naruto grinned. To keep an eye on the mysterious angel lady. Sakura rolled her eyes, but pulled him into a quick hug. Come back in one piece, or I'll kill you myself. Wouldn't have it any other way, Naruto laughed. As sunset approached, Naruto, Kakashi, and Gabriel gathered at Konoha's main gate. Tsunade and a few others had come to see them off. 3 weeks, Tsunade told Kakashi sternly. If you're not back in 3 weeks, I'm sending everything we have after you. Kakashi nodded. Understood, Hokage-sama. Gabriel stepped forward, her white robes replaced by more practical traveling attire, though she still carried an aura of otherworldliness. Lady Hokage, thank you for your trust, limited though it may be. Tsunade snorted. Trust is earned. Keep them safe, bring them back, and maybe we'll talk about trust. Gabriel inclined her head, then turned to Naruto and Kakashi. We should move quickly. The Nexus Point is several days' journey from here, and we're likely being watched. As if on cue, the sky above darkened slightly. Not as dramatically as during the demon attack, but enough to be noticeable. Gabriel's expression tightened. We need to go. Now. What is it? Kakashi asked, instantly alert. Scouts. Not a full attack force, but enough to track us. Gabriel's eyes scanned the darkening clouds. They're holding back for some reason. Maybe they're waiting for something, Naruto suggested, following her gaze. The temperature suddenly dropped, frost crystallizing on the ground despite the summer evening. Gabriel's breath caught, her eyes widening in what appeared to be genuine alarm. Not something, she whispered. Someone. A figure descended from the clouds, a man with features so perfect they seemed almost painful to look at. 6 pairs of wings the color of burnished gold spread behind him, and he carried a flaming sword that made the air around it waver with heat. Sister, the newcomer's voice resonated with power. You disappoint me. Gabriel stepped forward, placing herself between Naruto and the new arrival. Michael. I didn't expect you to come yourself. Tsunade moved to Naruto's side. Another friend of yours? Michael, Gabriel explained quietly. The Archangel. Heaven's greatest warrior and my brother. Michael landed gracefully, his wings folding behind him as he surveyed the gathering. His gaze lingered on Naruto, cold and calculating. So this is the abomination, he said. It looks remarkably human. His name is Naruto, Gabriel replied evenly. And he's not what we feared. Michael raised an eyebrow. No. He channels both light and darkness. His very existence threatens the balance we've maintained for eons. And yet you stand with him rather than executing your duty. My duty is to truth, brother. Not blind obedience. Gabriel's posture remained respectful but firm. Naruto closed a hellgate. Yesterday. He used his power to protect, not destroy. A single act means nothing, Michael dismissed. You know what he is, sister. What he represents. Naruto stepped forward despite Gabriel's attempt to keep him back. Hey, I'm standing right here. If you've got a problem with me, say it to my face. Michael's attention shifted fully to Naruto, his expression one of mild curiosity. It speaks with such confidence. Fascinating. He addressed Naruto directly. My problem, as you put it, is simple. You shouldn't exist. Your creation violated the most fundamental covenant between realms. Your power, should it fully awaken, could undo the very fabric of reality. Or it could heal it, Gabriel interjected. Brother, I've seen him use both aspects in harmony. What if he represents not a violation but an evolution? A path beyond the endless conflict? Michael's expression hardened. Such thinking borders on heresy, sister. There is order, and there is chaos. Light and darkness. They cannot coexist without destroying each other. That is the fundamental truth of creation. Maybe your truth needs updating, Naruto challenged. I exist. Deal with it. A flicker of something, amusement. Annoyance, crossed Michael's perfect features. Bold words from one so young and ignorant of his true nature. He turned back to Gabriel. I came myself out of respect for you, sister. Return with me now, and your lapse in judgment will be forgiven. Continue on this path, and you place yourself in opposition to heaven itself. The air around them seemed to vibrate with tension as Gabriel considered her response. Finally, she straightened, resolve clear in her expression. I cannot return until I know the truth. If Naruto is truly a threat to creation, I will do what must be done. But if there's even a chance he represents something more, a new possibility, then I must see it through. Michael's disappointment was palpable. Then you leave me no choice. He raised his flaming sword. Stand aside, sister. I will end this aberration now. Gabriel manifested her own sword of light. I cannot let you do that, brother. For a moment, it seemed battle was inevitable. Then, unexpectedly, Michael lowered his weapon slightly. You truly believe in this, being? He asked, genuine curiosity in his tone. I believe in the possibility he represents, Gabriel replied. Enough to risk my position. My home. Michael studied her, then Naruto, his ageless eyes seeming to see beyond physical form. Finally, he nodded once. 3 days, he declared. You have 3 days to prove your theory, sister. If, by then, you cannot demonstrate that this being serves creation rather than threatens it, I will return with the full host of heaven. And nothing, not even your intervention, will stop us from correcting this mistake. Without waiting for a response, Michael spread his golden wings and ascended, disappearing into the clouds which gradually cleared behind him. The gathered shinobi released collective breaths they hadn't realized they were holding. Well, Kakashi said dryly, that complicates our timetable. Gabriel turned to Naruto, her expression grave. We don't have 3 weeks anymore. We have 3 days to reach the Nexus and find answers. Naruto nodded grimly. Then what are we waiting for? They traveled through the night, pushing hard toward the northeast. Gabriel led them along paths that seemed to shimmer slightly, explaining they were thin places, where the boundaries between realms weren't as solid. These routes will let us cover more ground, she explained as they raced through a forest that seemed somehow more alive than it should be. But they're also more dangerous. Dangerous how? Kakashi asked, Sharingan exposed to navigate the increasingly strange environment. As if in answer, the trees around them shifted, branches reaching down like grasping hands. Like that, Gabriel replied, drawing her sword. The barriers between worlds are weakening. Things that should remain separate are beginning to bleed through. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that moved to intercept the animate branches. Is this because of me? The awakening thing? Not directly, Gabriel said, slicing through several branches with her light blade. The barriers have been thinning for centuries. But your emergence is both symptom and catalyst, evidence of the change already underway, and potentially an accelerant. They fought their way through the twisted forest, emerging into a clearing that seemed oddly familiar to Naruto. I know this place, he said, stopping short. This is, the Valley of the End, Kakashi finished, equally confused. But that's impossible. It's hundreds of miles from where we started, in the opposite direction. Gabriel studied their surroundings with interest. The Nexus is pulling us toward it. Reality becomes flexible as we get closer. The statues of Hashirama and Madara stood as they always had, but something about them seemed different. More alive. Water flowed upward from the base of the waterfall, defying gravity. This isn't the real valley, Gabriel clarified, seeing their confusion. It's a reflection, a memory given form by the thinning barriers. Places of great emotional significance create echoes across dimensions. So many battles here, Naruto murmured, memories of his fights with Sasuke flashing through his mind. So much pain and connection. As he spoke, the environment around them rippled. The statues seemed to move, recreating fragments of those past conflicts. Ghostly figures of Naruto and Sasuke clashed across the water's surface. Kakashi stepped back, disturbed. What's happening? Naruto's connection to this place is triggering a resonance, Gabriel explained. His awakening power is making the memory more solid. The ghostly battle continued around them, neither side seeming aware of the real visitors. Naruto watched, transfixed, as moments from his past played out before him. We should move on, Gabriel urged. Lingering in a memory nexus is dangerous. The longer we stay, the more real it becomes, and the more likely we are to become part of it. As if to emphasize her point, a stray energy blast from the phantom battle passed through Kakashi, causing him to stagger. Agreed, he said, recovering quickly. Which way? Gabriel pointed toward the forest beyond the valley. The pull is strongest in that direction. They moved quickly, leaving the battle echoes behind. As they entered the trees, the environment shifted again. The forest became less familiar, the trees taking on strange shapes and colors not found in their world. We're crossing a threshold, Gabriel explained. From here, we'll be moving through liminal space, the boundaries between realms. Will we be able to get back? Naruto asked. Yes, though it may not be by the same path. Gabriel glanced at him. Having second thoughts? Naruto shook his head. No. Just making sure we can get home when this is done. They continued through the increasingly alien landscape. Time seemed to flow strangely, with moments stretching into hours and hours compressing into seconds. Occasionally, they would glimpse strange creatures watching from the shadows, beings neither fully animal nor human. Liminal entities, Gabriel explained when Kakashi asked. Creatures that exist in the spaces between worlds. Most are harmless observers. And the others? Kakashi pressed. Let's hope we don't meet them, was all she said. As dawn approached, or what passed for dawn in this between place, they stopped to rest in a grove of silver-barked trees. Their leaves seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating a comfortable dimness. Naruto sat against one of the trees, examining the markings on his palm. They had spread further up his arm, intricate patterns of gold and black that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. They're growing, Gabriel observed, sitting beside him. Yeah. Doesn't hurt anymore, though. Just feels warm. Gabriel nodded. Your body is adapting. The mortal vessel accommodating the immortal essence. Naruto looked up at her. You keep talking about what I am, but not who I am. Does Naruto Uzumaki even matter anymore? Or am I just some cosmic battery for these powers? Gabriel seemed taken aback by the question. Of course you matter. Who you are shapes how these powers manifest. But will I still be me when this is done? Or will I become something else? Someone else? Gabriel was silent for a moment. I don't know, she admitted finally. There's never been anyone like you before. But I believe that the core of who you are, your will, your heart, those things won't change. They'll be enhanced, perhaps, expanded to encompass new understanding, but not replaced. Naruto nodded, not entirely reassured but appreciating her honesty. Kakashi approached from where he'd been scouting the perimeter. Something's coming. Multiple somethings, moving fast. Gabriel was on her feet instantly. We've been found. Demons again? Naruto asked, standing. No, Gabriel replied, her expression grim. Something worse. Hellhounds. The air filled with howls that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Shadows moved between the trees, larger than wolves but with too many limbs and eyes that burned like coals. What's the plan? Kakashi asked, kunai at ready. We run, Gabriel said simply. Hellhounds can't be killed by conventional means, and they never stop hunting once they have your scent. Great, Naruto muttered. Demon dogs. Because regular dogs weren't annoying enough. They burst from the grove, racing through the silver forest as shadows converged behind them. The howls grew closer despite their speed. They're hurting us. Kakashi called out, noticing how the pack was driving them in a specific direction. Gabriel nodded grimly. Yes. Away from the nexus. Someone doesn't want us reaching it. Then we go through them, Naruto decided, skidding to a halt. I'm tired of running. Before Gabriel could object, Naruto's body flared with power, gold and black energy swirling around him like a storm. His eyes shifted, one burning gold, the other deepest crimson. Naruto, don't, Gabriel began, but it was too late. Naruto slammed his palms together, and a shockwave of mixed energy blasted outward in all directions. Where it touched the hellhounds, they howled in pain, their shadowy forms dissolving into mist. How's that for conventional means? Naruto grinned, though the effort clearly strained him. Gabriel stared in shock. That shouldn't be possible. Hellhounds can only be banished by specific rituals or by someone who has authority over both realms, came a new voice from behind them. They spun to face a figure stepping out from between trees that hadn't been there a moment before. Tall and imposing, with features that seemed to shift between male and female, beautiful and terrible. They wore robes of midnight blue embroidered with constellations that moved across the fabric. Gabriel immediately dropped to one knee. Metatron. The figure nodded acknowledgement. Rise, Gabriel. Your obeisance is unnecessary here, between the worlds. Naruto stepped forward cautiously. Who are you? The being's attention shifted to him, eyes ancient and knowing. I am Metatron, the voice. Scribe of heaven and keeper of knowledge. Their gaze intensified. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are a most interesting anomaly. Are you here to try to kill me too? Naruto asked bluntly. Metatron's lips curved in what might have been amusement. If I wished you destroyed, child of confluence, we would not be speaking now. Then why are you here? Gabriel asked. The Metatron rarely leaves the celestial archives. Because the barriers continue to thin, and this one, they gestured to Naruto, represents either catastrophe or catalyst. I wish to determine which before passing judgment. Kakashi moved to stand beside Naruto. We're looking for answers ourselves. About what Naruto is and why everyone's so interested in him. Metatron nodded. Then perhaps our purposes align. The nexus you seek lies a half-day's journey ahead. I will escort you, as the path grows treacherous. Gabriel looked surprised. You're helping us reach the nexus. Why? Because balance must be maintained, Metatron replied cryptically. And because I, unlike Michael, believe in observation before action. With that, they turned and began walking, the forest seeming to part before them. After a moment's hesitation, the others followed. Can we trust them? Naruto whispered to Gabriel. Metatron doesn't lie, she replied softly. But they rarely reveal the whole truth either. We should proceed with caution. Naruto nodded, filing away the warning as they continued their journey, now led by yet another celestial being whose motives remained unclear. The landscape grew increasingly surreal as they followed Metatron deeper into the liminal space. Gravity seemed optional in places, with rocks and water floating in impossible configurations. Colors shifted beyond normal spectrums, and occasionally they would pass through patches where time moved differently, Naruto watching his own hand move in slow motion while the rest of his body continued at normal speed. The barriers are critically thin here, Metatron explained as they navigated a field of crystal formations that sang when touched. Multiple realities overlapping. Is this because of me? Naruto asked the question that had been nagging him. Metatron glanced back. Yes and no. The thinning has been ongoing for millennia. But your birth, the merging of divine and demonic essence in mortal form, could only occur because of this thinning. And now, your awakening accelerates the process. So I'm making things worse. You're making things change, Metatron corrected. Whether worse or better remains to be determined. They crested a hill and stopped at the site below. A vast circular depression spread out before them, at the center of which stood a massive tree. But unlike any tree Naruto had ever seen, this one seemed composed of pure energy, branches of light stretching upward, roots of darkness extending deep into the ground. The Nexus, Gabriel breathed, awe evident in her voice. The Axis Mundi, Metatron confirmed. The world tree that connects all realms. Here, at its physical manifestation, you may find your answers, son of confluence. Naruto stared at the colossal tree, feeling something inside him respond to its presence. The markings on his arms flared brightly, spreading further across his chest and back. "What do I do?" he asked. "Approach the tree," Metatron instructed. "Touch it. It will recognize what you are." Naruto began the descent toward the tree, Gabriel and Kakashi following closely. As they approached, the air grew thick with power, making it difficult to breathe or move. "I can't go further," Kakashi gasped, dropping to one knee about 100 yards from the tree. Gabriel struggled but continued a few steps more before also stopping. The concentration of power is too great for most beings. Only you can approach the center, Naruto. Naruto looked back at them uncertainly, then to Metatron who had remained at the edge of the depression. "Go," Metatron called. This moment was written before time began. Taking a deep breath, Naruto continued alone. Each step became harder than the last, as if he were walking through deep water. The markings on his body burned brilliantly now, spread across his entire form. Finally, he stood before the massive trunk of the Axis Mundi. Up close, he could see that it wasn't simply light and darkness, it was composed of countless threads of energy, some golden, some midnight black, all woven together in a pattern of staggering complexity. Hesitantly, Naruto reached out and placed his palm against the trunk. The world exploded into understanding. Visions cascaded through his mind, the creation of the universe, the schism between God and Satanael, the eternal war between heaven and hell, the birth of humanity caught between these powers. He saw his own conception, not the physical act between Minato and Kushina, but the cosmic event that had placed divine and demonic essence within the developing child. He saw himself as he truly was, a being of both realms, capable of channeling powers that should have destroyed each other but instead existed in precarious balance within him. And he saw the future, multiple futures, branching possibilities. In some, he became a destroyer, tearing down the barriers between worlds until all collapsed into chaos. In others, he became a tyrant, using his unique powers to subjugate all realms under his rule. But in a few, a precious few, he became something else. A bridge. A healer of the ancient schism. As the visions faded, Naruto found himself on his knees before the tree, tears streaming down his face from the weight of what he'd witnessed. "Now you understand," came a voice, not Metatron's or Gabriel's, but something older. The tree itself, speaking directly into his mind. "I'm supposed to choose," Naruto whispered. "Between destruction, domination, or healing." "Yes," the tree confirmed. "You are the first being since the schism with true free will in this matter. Neither bound to light nor dark, but capable of wielding both. But how do I choose? How do I know which path is right?" The tree's response held a note of what might have been sadness. "That is the burden of free will, child. No one can choose for you." Naruto thought of Konoha, of his friends, of the shinobi world that had shaped him. Then of the visions he'd seen, realms beyond count, beings of every description, all affected by the choices he would make. "What if I reject all those paths?" he asked suddenly. "What if I make my own way?" For the first time, the tree seemed surprised. "You would reject destiny itself?" Naruto stood, wiping away tears. "Wouldn't be the first time. My whole life people told me what I was supposed to be, demon brat, failure, weapon, savior. But I always found my own path." A sensation like laughter rippled through the nexus. "Truly unique," the tree mused. "Very well, son of confluence. Forge your own path if you can. But know this, the forces that seek to control you will not cease simply because you reject their scripts." "I'm used to that," Naruto replied. "One more question, can I protect my friends? My home? From all this?" "Not alone," the tree answered. "But perhaps with allies." Both expected and surprising. The connection began to fade, the tree's presence withdrawing. "Your awakening is not yet complete, child. When it is, return to me." We have much yet to discuss. With those words, the link severed, and Naruto found himself standing once more before the physical tree. But something had changed, the markings on his body no longer burned. They had settled into his skin like tattoos, golden and black patterns that covered him from fingertips to toes in intricate, beautiful designs. He turned back toward his companions, feeling lighter despite the immense knowledge he now carried. But as he looked up, he froze in place. The ridge above the depression was now lined with figures on both sides. To the left, angels in gleaming armor, wings spread and weapons ready. To the right, demons of various forms, emanating malevolence. And at the center, directly opposite each other, stood Michael and a figure Naruto hadn't seen before, tall and darkly beautiful, with wings of shadow and eyes like the void between stars. Lucifer, Gabriel whispered, having managed to rise and move closer to Naruto during his communion with the tree. The standoff was clear, heaven and hell had both arrived in force, and Naruto stood at the center of their attention. Michael stepped forward. "The 3 days are not yet expired, sister," he called to Gabriel. "But circumstances have changed. The abomination has contacted the Axis Mundi. Its power grows too quickly to allow further delay." Lucifer smiled, the expression both beautiful and terrible. "For once, I agree with my brother. Though for different reasons." His voice was like velvet over steel. "The son of confluence belongs with us, his demonic kin. His power would be better nurtured in hell's creative chaos than heaven's sterile order." Metatron, who still stood at the ridge between the two forces, raised a hand. "Both hosts will stand down. This sacred ground is neutral territory by ancient compact." Michael frowned but nodded to his angels, who lowered their weapons slightly. Lucifer made no such gesture, but the demons behind him seemed to ease their aggressive postures marginally. "The compact remains in force," Lucifer agreed smoothly. "But once the boy leaves this place, all agreements are void." Naruto looked to Gabriel. "What now?" She shook her head slightly. "I don't know. We're outnumbered by both sides." Kakashi finally managed to join them, though he looked drained from fighting the Nexus's power. "I'm open to suggestions. Preferably ones that don't involve us all getting killed." Naruto studied the forces arrayed against them, then looked down at the markings on his skin, the physical manifestation of his dual nature. The tree's words echoed in his mind, "Forge your own path." Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, placing himself between his friends and the assembled hosts of heaven and hell. "I have something to say," he called out, his voice carrying more power than it should have. "To all of you." Michael's expression tightened with impatience, but he inclined his head slightly. Lucifer's smile widened with apparent amusement. "I know what I am now." Naruto continued. "I've seen it. Felt it. I understand why both sides want me, as a weapon or a threat to be eliminated." He straightened, letting the power within him rise to the surface, not aggressively, but enough to be felt by all present. Gold and black energy shimmered around him like an aura. "But here's the thing, I reject both options. I'm not your weapon, your prince, your abomination, or your pawn. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I make my own destiny." Murmurs ran through both assembled hosts. Michael's face darkened with anger, while Lucifer's expression shifted to something more calculating. "Bold words," Lucifer commented. "But meaningless. Your nature is what it is, regardless of your desires." "My nature is what I choose to make it," Naruto countered. "And I choose balance, not dominance. Healing, not destruction." Michael stepped forward. "Pretty sentiments. But the existence of a being like you, channeling both divine and demonic power, inherently destabilizes the balance between realms. Your very presence accelerates the thinning of barriers." "Then I'll find a way to fix that," Naruto declared. "But I won't be used by either side in your eternal pissing contest." Gabriel made a choked sound beside him that might have been suppressed laughter. Even Metatron's expression flickered with something like amusement. The boy has a point, Metatron observed mildly. Your conflict has persisted so long you've forgotten its purpose. Perhaps something new is required. Heresy, Michael snapped. The division between light and dark is fundamental to creation's stability. Is it? Gabriel suddenly spoke up. Or is that simply what we've been taught? What if the original division was a mistake? What if reconciliation was always the intended end? Careful, sister, Michael warned. Such questions border on rebellion. Not rebellion, she replied steadily. Evolution. Lucifer watched the exchange with growing interest. How fascinating. Descent in the ranks of heaven. Perhaps we demons aren't the only ones capable of independent thought after all. Naruto seized on the momentary distraction. Here's what's going to happen, he announced, drawing all attention back to himself. I'm going back to my world with my friends. I'm going to learn to control these powers on my own terms. And when I'm ready, when I've found my own answers, I'll deal with this barrier problem. You presume much, Michael said coldly. Yeah, I do that, Naruto agreed with a slight grin. But here's the thing, you can't stop me without starting a war right here. Heaven against hell, on sacred neutral ground. Break the ancient compact. And somehow I don't think either side wants that. The tension in the air thickened as Michael and Lucifer exchanged glances, each calculating the risk. 3 months, Naruto continued. Give me 3 months to find my own solution. After that, if I haven't made progress, we can revisit this lovely chat. Metatron stepped forward. The boy's proposal has merit. A cessation of hostilities for a defined period, allowing all parties to observe and prepare. Michael's jaw tightened, but he nodded reluctantly. 3 months. Not a day more. Lucifer's smile returned. Agreed. Though I must say, I find your defiance quite invigorating, young Naruto. Perhaps there's more of your demonic heritage in you than you realize. Or perhaps there's more to demons than you admit, Naruto countered. Lucifer laughed, a surprisingly warm, rich sound. Oh, I like this one. Very well, son of confluence. 3 months to prove your worth. But know this, I'll be watching. We all will. With a wave of his hand, Lucifer and his demonic host vanished in swirls of shadow. Michael gave Gabriel one last, long look, disappointment mixed with something like concern, before he and the angels disappeared in flashes of light. Only Metatron remained, regarding Naruto with new interest. Improvisation. Fascinating approach. Naruto's shoulders slumped slightly as the tension drained. Did I just negotiate a ceasefire with heaven and hell? Indeed you did, Metatron confirmed. Though whether they honor it remains to be seen. They turned to Gabriel. You've chosen an interesting path, Gabriel. The consequences may be significant. Gabriel nodded solemnly. I'm aware. But I believe it's the right path. Time will tell. Metatron began to fade from view. 3 months, son of confluence. Use them wisely. And then they were gone, leaving Naruto, Gabriel, and Kakashi alone in the Nexus. Kakashi sighed deeply. Well. That was eventful. Sorry about the pissing contest comment, Naruto said to Gabriel. Got carried away. To his surprise, Gabriel smiled. It was an accurate assessment, if inelegantly phrased. So what now? Kakashi asked. How do we get home? Gabriel looked around the Nexus, her expression thoughtful. The tree can send us back. Now that Naruto has connected with it once, it should recognize him. Naruto approached the massive trunk once more, this time with more confidence. As his marked palm touched the surface, he felt the connection re-establish. We need to go home, he thought to the tree. To Konoha. As you wish, son of confluence, came the response. But remember your promise. 3 months is little time to forge a new path between ancient enemies. I'll figure it out, Naruto replied. I always do. The tree's presence seemed to smile. Yes. I believe you might. Light engulfed the three companions, and reality shifted around them. When it settled, they found themselves standing at Konoha's main gates, exactly where they departed days before, though somehow, Naruto knew that barely any time had passed here. The guards stared in shock at their sudden appearance, then at Naruto's markings, now visible where his sleeves had been pushed up. Welcome home, Naruto said to Kakashi and Gabriel with a tired smile. Now the real work begins. Kakashi nodded, his visible eye crinkling. And here I thought the hard part was over. Gabriel looked around at the village, seeming to truly see it for the first time, not as a target for assessment, but as Naruto's home. 3 months, she mused. To change the course of a conflict as old as time itself. Naruto's expression shifted to one of determination. Better get started then. As they walked through the gates, the guards still staring in confusion, Naruto felt the weight of what he'd learned, and what he'd promised. 3 months to find a way to stabilize the barriers between worlds. 3 months to master powers no being had ever combined before. 3 months to forge a new path between heaven and hell. Just another impossible task for Naruto Uzumaki. Chapter 2, Crossroads. 3 days after returning to Konoha, Naruto sat cross-legged on top of the Hokage monument, eyes closed in concentration. The morning sun warmed his skin as golden and black energy swirled around him in subtle patterns, responding to his attempt to direct it consciously. You're pushing too hard, Gabriel observed from where she stood a few feet away. Let it flow naturally. Naruto cracked one eye open. Easy for you to say. You've had what, a few million years to practice? More or less, Gabriel replied with the hint of a smile. But I've only ever channeled divine energy. What you're attempting is unprecedented. Naruto sighed and uncrossed his legs, letting the energy dissipate. The markings on his skin pulsed once before settling back into their now familiar pattern. He'd taken to wearing sleeveless shirts and fingerless gloves, giving up on hiding the markings after the first day back. News had spread quickly through the village. Naruto Uzumaki had changed, become something more than human. Some feared him. Others were simply curious. Most, surprisingly, accepted it as just the latest bizarre development in the life of their most unpredictable ninja. 3 months minus 3 days, Naruto muttered, looking out over the village. And I've managed to make exactly 0 progress. Gabriel settled beside him. You've made more progress than you realize. You can consciously summon both energies now. A week ago, they were simply erupting from you unbidden. Yeah, but I still can't do anything useful with them. Naruto flexed his fingers, watching tiny sparks of gold and black dance between them. Can't stabilize barriers between worlds if I can't even maintain a decent light show. A throat cleared behind them. They turned to see Kakashi approaching, an ancient-looking scroll tucked under one arm. Interrupt training, am I? He asked mildly. More like interrupting frustration, Naruto admitted. What's up, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi held up the scroll. Lady Tsunade had the archivists searching for any references to phenomena similar to what you're experiencing. They found this in a sealed section. Predates the founding of the village. Gabriel rose, interest clear in her expression. May I? Kakashi handed her the scroll. Be careful with it. It's apparently several thousand years old. Gabriel unrolled it carefully, eyes scanning the faded text. This is surprising. It's written in Enochian script, but modified to accommodate human writing implements. She looked up. This was written by an angel. One who lived among humans. What's it say? Naruto asked, peering over her shoulder at the incomprehensible symbols. It describes a place called the Crucible, a realm between realms where divine and demonic energies exist in perfect equilibrium. Gabriel continued reading, her expression growing more intent. According to this, the crucible was created as a testing ground, a place where beings of mixed heritage could learn to harness their dual nature. Naruto straightened. Mixed heritage? You mean there were others like me? Not exactly like you, Gabriel clarified. Lesser Nephilim, Cambions, half-breeds of various kinds. But none with the direct essence of both God and Satanael. She rolled the scroll further. The crucible was sealed after the Great Purge, when most mixed beings were eliminated from existence. Charming, Kakashi commented dryly. Your people have interesting solutions to diversity. Gabriel had the grace to look uncomfortable. It was a different time. Before my creation. Does it say where this crucible is? Naruto asked, focusing on the practical. Gabriel nodded. Yes, and how to access it. It exists in a pocket dimension, anchored to our reality at certain points. She studied the map included in the scroll. The nearest anchor point is at a place called, the Temple of the Sage. Kakashi's visible eye widened slightly. The ruins northeast of here. They're supposedly connected to the Sage of Six Paths. That would make sense, Gabriel mused. The sage was known even to celestial beings as one who walked between worlds. Naruto jumped to his feet. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go check it out. Hold on, Kakashi cautioned. Those ruins are in disputed territory between fire and lightning. We'd need clearance, diplomatic permissions. We don't have time for paperwork, Naruto interrupted. Michael's 3-month deadline is ticking, and I need to figure this stuff out before he comes back with the heavenly eviction squad. Gabriel rolled the scroll carefully. Naruto's right. Diplomatic concerns pale in comparison to what happens if he cannot stabilize his powers. Kakashi sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. Lady Tsunade suspected the same. She's prepared travel papers for us, officially a diplomatic mission to discuss boundary issues with Cloud Ninja. Naruto grinned. See? Granny Tsunade's got our backs. His expression sobered. When do we leave? Tonight, Kakashi replied. Less chance of being observed. Gabriel tilted her head, as if listening to something beyond human perception. We'll be observed regardless. Both sides are watching. Let them watch, Naruto declared, his marked hands clenching into fists. I've got a job to do, and I'm doing it my way. They departed Konoha under cover of darkness, traveling fast and light. Tsunade had insisted that Sakura join them, both for her medical skills and as additional firepower if needed. So we're looking for some kind of supernatural gym where you can practice being half angel, half demon? Sakura asked as they leapt through the forest canopy. She'd taken the revelations about Naruto's nature with surprising equanimity. Something like that, Naruto replied from the lead position. But less gym, more life or death test chamber, probably. Comforting, Sakura muttered. Gabriel, who moved with effortless grace alongside them, elaborated. The crucible was designed to push beings of dual nature to their limits, to force integration of opposing aspects. It's as much psychological as physical. Even better, Sakura sighed. Kakashi, bringing up the rear, added, the scroll mentioned guardians. Ancient beings tasked with administering the trials. What kind of beings? Sakura asked. The scroll didn't specify, Gabriel admitted. Only that they were neither angel nor demon, but something older. They traveled through the night, pushing hard to cover as much ground as possible. By dawn, they'd crossed into the disputed territories, a rocky, mountainous region scarred by past conflicts between fire and lightning countries. As they stopped to rest near a small stream, Naruto noticed Gabriel growing increasingly tense, her gaze frequently scanning the sky. What is it? He asked quietly, moving to sit beside her on a boulder. We're being followed, she replied in an equally low voice. Not just observed from afar now. Actually followed. Demons? Gabriel shook her head slightly. No. My siblings. Naruto frowned. I thought Michael agreed to give me 3 months. He did. But that doesn't mean he won't have us watched. She looked at him directly. The Crucible's existence was supposed to be erased from all records after the purge. The fact that a scroll survived, and that we found it so easily, will concern heaven greatly. You think they planted it? To see what we do? Gabriel considered this. Possible. Or they've been aware of its continued existence and are now concerned we'll use it to strengthen your powers rather than control them. Naruto snorted. Control, strengthen, what's the difference? I just need to understand what I'm dealing with. To heaven, there's a significant difference, Gabriel explained. Control implies limitation. Suppression. They would prefer you learn to contain your powers rather than expand them. Naruto was about to respond when Kakashi signaled from the tree line, time to move. They gathered their minimal supplies and continued northeast, now traveling more cautiously as they entered increasingly unfamiliar territory. By midday, the landscape had changed dramatically. The forests gave way to a vast, barren plateau dotted with massive stone formations that seemed unnaturally smooth and regular despite their apparent age. We're close, Gabriel announced, pointing to a distant structure barely visible through the heat haze. Those are the outer markers of the Temple of the Sage. As they approached, the scale of the ruins became apparent. Massive stone columns, each easily 100 feet tall, formed a circular pattern around a central depression in the earth. Symbols were carved into each column, some recognizable as ancient script, others completely alien. Those are binding sigils, Gabriel explained, pointing to a particular series of markings. Designed to anchor interdimensional spaces to physical locations. Naruto studied the symbols, surprised to find he could almost understand them. Something about them resonated with the markings on his own skin. So how do we get in? Sakura asked, surveying the impressive but seemingly solid ruins. Gabriel approached the nearest column and placed her palm against it. The scroll mentioned a key, a specific frequency of energy that would activate the gateway. Naruto joined her, placing his own marked hand beside hers. Immediately, the column began to hum, vibrations running through the stone and into the ground beneath their feet. I think it recognizes you, Kakashi observed, stepping back as the vibrations intensified. One by one, the other columns began to respond, each emitting a tone that harmonized with the others. The air in the central depression shimmered like heat over desert sand. There, Gabriel pointed. The gateway is opening. Where empty air had been moments before, a spiraling vortex of energy now formed, neither the golden light of heaven nor the darkness of hell, but a perfect mixture of both, swirling in balanced patterns. That's our door, Naruto said, stepping toward it. Everyone ready? Gabriel nodded, though tension remained in her posture. The Crucible will test each of us differently. Be prepared for challenges designed specifically for your greatest weaknesses. Sounds fun, Sakura commented sarcastically, adjusting her gloves. Kakashi merely shrugged. After everything else we've seen lately, what's one more impossible place? Naruto grinned at his companions, genuine appreciation in his expression. Thanks. For coming with me into, whatever this is. Like we'd let you have all the fun, Sakura replied with a smile. Together, they stepped into the swirling vortex. The world around them dissolved into patterns of light and dark, and then reformed into something entirely different. They stood in what appeared to be a vast hallway, walls of polished black stone stretching in both directions further than the eye could see. The ceiling arched high overhead, supported by columns that seemed to be made of frozen fire and ice, somehow coexisting without melting or extinguishing each other. Welcome, seekers, came a voice from everywhere and nowhere at once. To the Crucible of Duality. A figure materialized before them, or perhaps it had always been there, simply unnoticed until now. Humanoid in general shape, but with skin like polished mercury and features that seemed to shift and flow continuously. Neither male nor female, neither young nor old. Gabriel immediately bowed deeply. Guardian. We seek passage and trial. The guardian's fluid face shifted into what might have been a smile. Angel of the Lord. It has been long since one of your kind entered these halls. Its gaze shifted to Naruto, mercury eyes widening slightly. And you bring, fascinating company. Naruto stepped forward. I know what you are, child of confluence, the guardian interrupted. More interesting is why you are. But that is not for me to question. It gestured down the endless hallway. The crucible awaits. Each must face their trial alone. Wait, Sakura protested. We came together. We stay together. The guardian's face rippled with something like amusement. Noble sentiment, but irrelevant. The trials are individual by necessity. It turned to address them all. The path forward is simple, continue until you reach your trial. Complete it successfully, and you will rejoin your companions at the heart of the crucible. And if we fail? Kakashi asked quietly. The guardian's expression became unreadable. Then you remain, until success or eternity. With those words, the guardian vanished, leaving them alone in the endless hallway. Well, that's reassuring, Naruto muttered. Gabriel turned to the others. The guardian wasn't exaggerating. The trials are designed to be faced alone. They'll target your personal challenges, fears, weaknesses, unresolved conflicts. Like a really intense therapy session with possible death. Sakura asked. Something like that, Gabriel agreed. But remember, the purpose of the crucible is integration, not destruction. The trials can be passed, if you understand what they're truly testing. Naruto took a deep breath. All right. I guess we start walking then. They moved forward together, footsteps echoing in the vast space. After what seemed like hours but might have been minutes, the hallway began to branch. First one side passage appeared, then another, then dozens, until they stood at the center of a vast labyrinth. I think this is where we split up, Kakashi said, eyeing the multiple paths. Naruto nodded reluctantly. Yeah. Looks like everyone gets their own fun house. Sakura reached out and squeezed his hand briefly. Be careful. All of you. Gabriel looked down each passage with a concerned expression. Trust yourselves. The crucible will challenge you, but it's not malevolent. It seeks truth, not harm. With those final words of encouragement, each felt a subtle pull toward a different passage. As if guided by invisible hands, they separated, each walking down their designated path until they could no longer see each other. Naruto walked alone down a corridor that gradually shifted from black stone to something that looked disturbingly like the interior of a living organism, walls pulsing with veins and tissue. The floor beneath his feet felt warm and slightly yielding. Okay, this is getting weird, he muttered to himself, trying to ignore how the passage seemed to breathe around him. The corridor finally opened into a vast circular chamber. Unlike the organic passageway, this room appeared constructed from both light and shadow, sections of brilliant radiance alternating with patches of absolute darkness. At the center stood a familiar sight, a smaller version of the Axis Mundi, the world tree he had encountered at the Nexus. As Naruto approached cautiously, two figures stepped out from behind the tree, one from the light side, one from the dark. His eyes widened in shock as they came into focus. On the left, bathed in golden light, stood his father, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. On the right, wreathed in shadow, stood a figure who resembled Minato but was not him, darker, with eyes like burning coals and a cruel twist to his familiar features. Hello, son, both spoke in perfect unison. Naruto stopped short. You're not real, he stated flatly. The light Minato smiled gently. Not in the way you mean. We are aspects of your heritage, given form by the crucible. The dark Minato's smile was identical in shape but somehow menacing. We are what created you. Divine and demonic, order and chaos, light and dark. Your trial is simple, like Minato explained. Choose one of us. Embrace that aspect of yourself fully, reject the other. That's it? Naruto asked skeptically. Just pick a side. Dark Minato laughed, the sound both beautiful and terrible. Just pick a side. Heaven or hell. Creator or destroyer. The eternal choice all beings face. Naruto looked between them, frowning. And if I choose light, he asked the bright figure. You become a being of pure divine energy, like Minato answered. A champion of heaven, bringing order and peace to all realms. Your demonic aspects will be cleansed away, leaving only purity. And if I choose dark? Naruto turned to the shadow figure. Dark Minato's eyes flared. Power beyond imagining. Freedom from all constraints. The ability to reshape reality. According to your will alone. Your divine aspects will burn away, leaving you unfettered by moral limitations. Naruto paced before them, considering. Something about this didn't feel right. He stopped and looked up at the miniature world tree behind them. It pulsed with both energies, perfectly balanced. No, he said finally. Both figures frowned in identical confusion. No, they echoed. No, Naruto repeated more firmly. I reject the premise of the test. I'm not choosing between aspects of myself. That's not integration, it's amputation. The figures exchanged glances. The choice must be made, like Minato insisted. No being can serve two opposing forces. Naruto laughed. I've been doing it my whole life. The Nine Tails and myself. Duty to the village and loyalty to friends. Being a weapon and being a person. He stepped forward, placing one hand on each figure's shoulder. I don't need to choose between my parts. I need to make them work together. As his words echoed in the chamber, both figures began to change. Light Minato's perfect radiance dimmed slightly, revealing flaws and doubts beneath. Dark Minato's shadows receded, showing compassion and connection hidden within. You understand the first lesson, they spoke together, voices harmonizing rather than perfectly synchronized. Purity is stagnation. Integration is growth. They began to dissolve, their forms flowing like liquid light and shadow toward Naruto. As they touched him, the markings on his skin flared brilliantly. For a moment, pain seared through him, not the agony of rejection, but the deep ache of parts long separated finally reconnecting. When it subsided, Naruto stood alone before the tree. But something had changed. The markings on his skin now moved subtly, gold and black patterns flowing into each other rather than remaining distinct. First trial completed, announced the guardian's voice from nowhere. Proceed to the heart. The world tree's trunk split open, revealing a new passage forward. Naruto took a deep breath and stepped through. Gabriel's path led her through a corridor of mirrors. Each reflective surface showed not her current form, but different aspects of her existence through the ages, the warrior, the messenger, the watcher. Thousands of years of service to heaven displayed around her. The passage opened into what appeared to be a perfect recreation of heaven's throne room, white marble, columns of light, the distant sound of choirs. But the throne itself stood empty. Before it stood Michael, her brother, exactly as she had last seen him. Sister, he greeted her formally. You've strayed far from your purpose. Gabriel approached cautiously. You're not Michael. You're a manifestation of the trial. The figure inclined his head slightly. True. But I speak with his voice, his concerns, his authority. What is my trial? Gabriel asked directly. Simple. Not Michael gestured to a table that appeared beside him. Upon it lay a sword of pure heavenly fire. Take up your weapon. Swear to return to heaven's service completely. Abandon the abomination to his fate. Your transgression will be forgiven. Gabriel stared at the sword. It called to her, familiar and comforting after the strangeness of recent events. And if I refuse? Not Michael's expression hardened. Then you choose exile. Abandonment of your place in the celestial hierarchy. You will become less than you are, diminished, cut off from the source. Gabriel stepped closer to the sword, her hand hovering over it. For eons, she had been Gabriel, angel of the Lord, messenger, warrior. To refuse that identity. He isn't an abomination, she said quietly. Naruto. He's something new, yes. Different. But not wrong. He disrupts the divine order, not Michael countered. His very existence blurs lines that must remain distinct. Perhaps those lines were drawn incorrectly, Gabriel suggested. Or perhaps they've served their purpose and now something new must emerge. Not Michael's eyes narrowed. You speak dangerous thoughts, sister. Take up the sword. Return to certainty. To your rightful place. Gabriel's hand lowered to touch the sword's hilt. The moment she made contact, visions flooded her mind, the comfort of heaven, the clarity of purpose, the brotherhood of angels. All she would be giving up if she turned away. But alongside those images came new ones, Naruto closing the Hellgate, negotiating with both divine and demonic forces, rejecting predetermined paths to forge his own. His determination, his compassion, his refusal to be defined by others' expectations. Slowly, Gabriel withdrew her hand from the sword. I choose uncertainty, she said, stepping back. I choose to see this through. Not Michael's face showed genuine sadness. You choose a lesser existence. No, Gabriel replied with growing conviction. I choose growth over stagnation. Questions over blind certainty. I choose to learn rather than merely know. As she spoke, the throne room began to dissolve around her. Not Michael remained, but his form shifted, becoming more like the mercury-skinned guardian. You understand your trial, it said in a voice no longer Michael's. For an angel, blind obedience is easy. True service requires judgment. Discernment. Even doubt. The figure gestured to a new doorway that opened in what had been a solid wall. Proceed to the heart, angel who chooses to see. Gabriel moved toward the door, feeling simultaneously lighter and heavier than before, burdened with choice, but freed from unquestioning obedience. Kakashi found himself walking down a corridor lined with faces, every person he had ever failed to save, from his childhood teammates to fallen comrades in ANBU. Their eyes followed him accusingly as he passed. Not very subtle, he murmured to himself, keeping his gaze fixed ahead. His passage opened into a perfect recreation of the memorial stone clearing in Konoha, where he had spent countless hours over the years. But instead of the single stone monument, hundreds of such stones filled the clearing, each carved with names. Before the central stone stood a figure Kakashi had not seen in decades, his father, Tsukumo Hatake, exactly as he remembered him. Son, the figure greeted him with a sad smile. You've collected quite a burden over the years. Kakashi remained at the edge of the clearing. You're not my father. No, the figure agreed easily. But I represent what he taught you, about duty, about failure, about choices. What's my trial? Kakashi asked directly, unwilling to play along with the emotional manipulation. The figure gestured to the surrounding memorial stones. Your life has been defined by loss. By failure to protect those important to you. Now you follow Naruto on a path that may lead to the greatest failure of all, the destruction of reality itself. Kakashi's visible eye narrowed. Naruto won't destroy anything. That's not who he is. Perhaps, the figure conceded. But can you be certain? The power he contains, divine and demonic, creation and destruction, it's beyond anything your world has encountered. Are you willing to risk everyone you've sworn to protect on your faith in one boy? Kakashi considered this silently. The figure continued, pacing between the memorial stones. Your trial is this, you may return to Konoha now. Protect your village from what's coming. Let the boy face his destiny without you. Or continue with him, knowing that you may be enabling the end of everything you hold dear. That's not much of a trial, Kakashi commented. Just a choice. The hardest trials often are, the figure replied. Choose, son of Tsukumo. Protect the many or stand by one. Kakashi looked around at the sea of memorial stones, each representing lives lost, failures accumulated. Then he thought of Naruto, his student, the unpredictable ninja who had defied every expectation placed upon him. I choose Naruto, he said simply. The figure tilted its head. Even knowing what he might become. What his power might do. Because of what I know he is, Kakashi corrected. Naruto has never been defined by his power, not when it was just the Nine Tails, and not now. He's defined by his heart. He stepped forward, walking past the figure toward the center of the clearing. I've spent too much of my life at memorial stones. It's time I helped the living instead of honoring the dead. As he spoke, the memorial stones began to sink into the ground, disappearing one by one until only the original remained. The figure of his father smiled, a genuine expression now, proud rather than sad. You understand your trial, it said, its form shifting to reveal the guardian underneath. The past informs but need not imprison. True protection requires faith as well as caution. A doorway opened in the trunk of a nearby tree. Proceed to the heart, watcher who chooses to act. Kakashi nodded once, then walked through the new opening without looking back. Sakura's corridor was filled with medical equipment, some familiar from Konoha's hospital, others strange and futuristic. Her footsteps echoed clinically as she advanced cautiously. Her path opened into a vast medical theater, with a single operating table at the center. On it lay Naruto, unconscious, his marked body connected to various monitoring devices. Standing over him was, herself. Another Sakura, dressed in surgical garb, holding a scalpel. What is this? Sakura demanded, rushing forward. The other Sakura looked up calmly. The inevitable procedure. His human body cannot sustain the energies within him indefinitely. The power must be extracted. Sakura stared at Naruto's still form. You're going to kill him. I'm going to save him, her doppelganger corrected. By separating the human from the divine and demonic. The powers will be contained, she gestured to two glowing containers nearby, and Naruto Uzumaki will return to being simply human. Simply your friend. Sakura circled the operating table warily. That's not how it works. Those powers are part of him now. A foreign part. A dangerous part. The double held up the scalpel. Your trial is simple, assist me in the procedure. Help me save your friend from forces that will eventually tear him apart. Return things to the way they were. Sakura stared at the unconscious Naruto, conflicted. How many times had she wished things could go back to normal? Before all this talk of angels and demons, divine heritage and world-ending power. Would he still be Naruto, she asked quietly. If we removed those parts of him? The double considered this. He would be the Naruto you knew before. The human boy. Your teammate. But not all that he is now, Sakura concluded. Not all that he could become. This power will destroy him eventually, the double insisted. No human vessel can contain such opposing forces indefinitely. Sakura looked down at Naruto's face, peaceful in unconsciousness. She thought of everything they'd been through together, his unwavering determination, his growth, his ability to change not just himself but those around him. No, she said firmly, stepping between her double and the operating table. I won't help you diminish him. Naruto has never run from a challenge, and I won't make this decision for him. The double's expression hardened. Even if it costs his life. Even if the power within him eventually consumes him. Even then, Sakura affirmed. Because that would be his choice. His path. Not mine to decide for him. As she spoke, the operating theater began to dissolve around them. The double's form shifted, revealing the mercury-skinned guardian. "You understand your trial," it said. "True healing preserves potential, not merely life. True friendship respects choice, even difficult ones." The operating table transformed into a doorway of light. "Proceed to the heart, healer who chooses to trust." Taking a deep breath, Sakura stepped through the light. The heart of the crucible was a perfect sphere, half of its interior gleaming white, the other half deepest black, with a precise boundary between them. At the exact center, where light met dark, stood a dais with a single object upon it, a crystal orb containing swirling energies of gold and shadow. Naruto was the first to arrive, emerging from his doorway into the strange space. He approached the dais cautiously, studying the orb without touching it. Gabriel arrived next, her expression thoughtful as she took in their surroundings. "The heart," she murmured. "I've only read about this place." Kakashi and Sakura emerged from their respective doorways simultaneously, both looking slightly shaken by their experiences. "Everyone okay?" Naruto asked, glancing between his companions. They nodded, moving to join him near the dais. "What is this thing?" Sakura asked, pointing to the orb. Before anyone could answer, the guardian materialized beside them, its mercury form reflecting both light and darkness from the chamber's halves. "The crucible core," it explained. "The perfect balance of opposing forces, sustained for eons. This is what you seek, son of confluence, the secret of harmony between light and dark." Naruto studied the orb more closely. "How does it work?" "Not through suppression or dominance," the guardian answered. "But through perpetual flow. See how neither force attempts to overcome the other. They remain distinct, yet connected. Separate, yet part of a greater whole." Gabriel leaned closer to the orb. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "I never imagined opposition could create such harmony." "That is the limitation of heaven's perspective," the guardian commented. "Just as hell fails to comprehend the necessity of order. Neither absolute is sustainable alone." Naruto reached toward the orb, then hesitated. "Can I touch it?" The guardian inclined its head. "That is why you were brought here. The core responds differently to each visitor. For you, it may offer insight found nowhere else." Taking a deep breath, Naruto placed his marked palms against the crystal surface. Immediately, the energies within responded, swirling faster and aligning with the patterns on his skin. Information flooded into him, not in words or images, but in pure understanding. "It's not about controlling the energies," he murmured, eyes wide with revelation. "It's about directing their flow. They want to be in motion, not static." Gabriel watched intently as the markings on Naruto's skin began to shift, reorganizing themselves into more complex, flowing patterns. "The barriers between worlds," Naruto continued, "still connected to the core, they're not walls, they're membranes. Permeable. Designed to allow controlled exchange." "Yes," the guardian confirmed. "The original design of reality was not absolute separation, but managed distinction. Over time, the barriers have become rigid, brittle. Now they fracture rather than flex." Naruto's expression cleared as understanding dawned. "That's it. That's what I need to do. Not rebuild the walls between realms, but restore their natural flexibility." He stepped back from the orb, the connection breaking gently. The markings on his skin continued their subtle movement, no longer random but purposeful, like currents in a stream. "Can you do that?" Sakura asked. "Restore flexibility to dimensional barriers?" Naruto looked down at his hands, where the patterns now formed perfect circuits of energy. "I think so. The core showed me how to direct the flow of both energies together. If I can apply that on a larger scale," a sudden tremor interrupted him, shaking the entire chamber. The perfect division between light and dark sides wobbled, sections of each bleeding into the other. "We have company," the guardian announced, its mercury form rippling with tension. Uninvited. Heaven? Gabriel asked sharply. The guardian shook its head. Both sides approach. The crucible's neutrality has been violated. Another tremor, stronger than the first, rocked the chamber. Cracks appeared in the walls where light and darkness had begun to intermix chaotically. We need to leave, Kakashi stated urgently. Now. The guardian gestured, and a new doorway appeared. This will return you to your entry point. Hurry. Even I cannot maintain the crucible's integrity if full forces breach the outer barriers. As they moved toward the exit, Naruto paused. Wait. The core, we can't just leave it. The core will endure, the guardian assured him. It has weathered worse conflicts. Your knowledge of its secrets is what matters now. Naruto nodded reluctantly and joined the others at the doorway. As they prepared to step through, the guardian addressed him one final time. Remember, son of confluence, balance is not static. It is dynamic, constantly adjusting. Like life itself. With those words echoing in their minds, they passed through the doorway and were enveloped in swirling energy once more. They emerged back among the standing stones of the Temple of the Sage, stumbling slightly as they readjusted to the material world. The portal behind them collapsed with a sound like thunder, sealing the crucible away. Just in time, Gabriel said tensely, looking skyward. Above them, the air rippled as two distinct disturbances formed, one of brilliant light to the east, one of deepening shadow to the west. Looks like both sides decided to check on our field trip, Naruto observed, flexing his fingers as he felt the new configuration of power flowing through him. We should move, Kakashi advised. Get distance before they fully manifest. But before they could retreat, a beam of light shot down from the eastern disturbance, solidifying into a figure Naruto recognized, Raphael, another of Gabriel's angelic siblings, his 8 wings spread wide as he landed before them. Sister, he greeted Gabriel coldly. You disappoint the host with your continued defiance. From the western shadow emerged a counterpart, a female figure with skin like polished obsidian and wings of smoke, her beauty both alluring and terrifying. Lilith, Gabriel identified her with obvious tension. The demoness smiled, revealing teeth too sharp to be human. Gabriel. Slumming with mortals now. How the mighty have fallen. Her gaze shifted to Naruto, becoming hungrier. And this must be our special hybrid. Hello, cousin. Naruto stepped forward, positioning himself between his companions and the newcomers. If you're here for a fight, you might want to reconsider. I'm not in the mood. Raphael's expression remained impassive. We are not here to fight. Merely to observe and report. And maybe to extend an invitation, Lilith added silkily. Your father would very much like to meet you, child. Satanael has prepared quite the welcome in his domain. Hard pass, Naruto replied flatly. Not interested in family reunions on either side. Raphael's wings shifted slightly, a subtle tell of annoyance. You cannot reject your heritage indefinitely. The power within you demands alignment. Funny thing about that, Naruto said, feeling the balanced energy flowing through his newly organized markings. I just had a very educational experience that suggests otherwise. Lilith's eyes narrowed as she studied him more carefully. Something's changed. The energies within him, they're more integrated. Raphael noticed it too, his posture stiffening. The crucible. You've allowed him access to the ancient knowledge. Gabriel stepped up beside Naruto. The knowledge was his by right. As a being of both realms, the crucible recognized his claim. Dangerous ground, sister, Raphael warned. Michael's patience grows thin. He granted 3 months as a courtesy to you, not because he expected actual progress. Yet progress has been made, Gabriel countered. Naruto now understands how to direct both aspects of his power in harmony. Lilith circled them slowly, her movement unnaturally fluid. Fascinating. The angels fear your potential, little hybrid, while we would embrace it. Consider which side truly has your interests at heart. Naruto laughed. Neither of you cares about me. You care about what I represent, what I can do. Heaven wants me contained or destroyed. Hell wants me weaponized. Neither side sees me as a person. You are more than a person, Raphael stated. You are a cosmic anomaly. A disruption in the divine order. Or its next evolution, Gabriel suggested. Lilith's laughter was like shattering glass. Listen to the rebel angel. Next she'll be joining our ranks. I join no ranks but my own, Gabriel replied evenly. Tension crackled in the air between the powerful beings. Sakura and Kakashi moved closer to Naruto, ready to act despite being outmatched. Enough posturing, Naruto declared suddenly. You've seen what you came to see. Now leave us alone. I've got work to do before Michael's deadline. Raphael studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. Very well. I will report what I've observed. But be warned, what you learned in the Crucible may not be as beneficial as you believe. Ancient knowledge often comes with hidden costs. With those ominous words, he ascended in a column of light, disappearing back into the disturbance above. Lilith lingered, her dark eyes fixed on Naruto. When you tire of walking the middle path, and you will, Hell's gates will open for you. We, at least, would celebrate what you are rather than fear it. She blew a kiss that manifested as a small wisp of shadow. Until next time, beautiful contradiction. She melted into darkness, flowing upward into the western disturbance, which closed behind her. As both supernatural presences faded, the group collectively exhaled. That was tense, Sakura commented, rubbing her arms where goosebumps had formed. And informative, Kakashi added. Both sides are watching very closely. Gabriel's expression was troubled. Raphael rarely leaves heaven. His presence indicates serious concern about what we're doing. Naruto flexed his hands, watching the markings flow smoothly across his skin. Let them worry. For the first time since this started, I actually feel like I understand what's happening to me. He looked up at the now clear sky. And I think I know what to do next. Which is? Kakashi prompted. We need to find a thin spot, a place where the barrier between worlds is already weak. I need to practice what the core showed me on a small scale before attempting anything larger. Gabriel nodded thoughtfully. There are several such locations in the shinobi territories. Places where the material and spiritual worlds overlap naturally. The Land of Iron, Kakashi suggested. The Three Wolves Mountains are said to exist partially in the spirit realm. Perfect, Naruto agreed. That gives us neutral territory, away from both Konoha and potential celestial interference. As they prepared to depart, Naruto paused, looking back at the now dormant stone columns. Thank you, he said quietly to the ancient site. For showing me the way forward. No visible response came from the ruins, but for a moment, the air seemed to shimmer with acknowledgement. The journey to the Land of Iron took 3 days of hard traveling. As they moved northward, the climate grew steadily colder, forests giving way to snow-covered plains. Throughout the journey, Naruto practiced controlling the flow of energies within him, guided by what he'd learned from the Crucible core. It's like having 2 rivers running through me, he explained to the others as they camped on the final night before reaching their destination. Before, they were crashing into each other, causing rapids and whirlpools. Now I'm learning to direct their currents so they flow alongside each other, even intertwining without losing their distinct natures. Gabriel watched with interest as he demonstrated, golden and black energy spiraling around his hands in controlled patterns. The integration is impressive. Most beings who attempt to channel opposing forces eventually lean toward one or the other. I'm not most beings, Naruto replied with a grin. Clearly, Sakura commented dryly. Most beings don't have angels and demons stalking them across dimensions. Kakashi, who had been unusually quiet since their encounter at the temple, finally spoke up. The Crucible showed each of us something different. What did you see, Naruto? Naruto's expression grew more serious. I saw two versions of my father, one light, one dark. They wanted me to choose between them, to reject one aspect of myself. He shook his head. But that was never going to work. I've always been about integration, not separation. The Nine Tails taught me that. You spoke with Kurama recently? Sakura asked, using the fox's true name. Yeah. He's been quiet, giving me space to deal with all this. But he's still there. Naruto tapped his stomach where the original seal had been placed. He says the new powers don't threaten him. If anything, they've made our connection stronger somehow. Gabriel leaned forward, interest clear in her expression. That's unexpected. The divine aspects should repel a being of pure chakra like the Nine Tails. Kurama's more than just chakra, Naruto corrected. He's a person. A friend. And maybe that's why this is working, because I don't see any of these powers as just tools or weapons. They're connections to other beings, other realities. Kakashi nodded slowly, understanding dawning. That's what the Crucible was trying to show you. Connection rather than control. Exactly. Naruto's face lit up. The barriers between worlds aren't meant to be walls, but bridges. Permeable membranes that allow limited exchange while maintaining distinction. Gabriel looked thoughtful. Such a perspective goes against thousands of years of celestial doctrine. Heaven has always maintained that separation is necessary for order. Maybe that doctrine needs updating, Naruto suggested. The world changes. Why shouldn't heaven change too? Dangerous thinking, Gabriel replied, though without censure. But, perhaps necessary. As night deepened around their camp, Naruto felt a growing sense of purpose. For the first time since his birthday when everything changed, he wasn't simply reacting to events or powers beyond his control. He had direction. Understanding. A path forward that felt right. Tomorrow they would reach the Three Wolves Mountains, and he would attempt his first conscious manipulation of the barriers between worlds. A test run for what might eventually heal the growing instability throughout reality. If he succeeded, it would be the first concrete proof that his unique nature served a purpose beyond conflict. That the son of divine and demonic forces could be a creator rather than a destroyer. And if he failed, well, failure had never stopped Naruto Uzumaki before. The Three Wolves Mountains loomed against the dawn sky, their jagged peaks resembling the fangs of massive beasts poised to devour the heavens. Snow swirled around the travelers as they approached, but something about the white flakes seemed odd. They occasionally flickered, becoming transparent or shifting in color before resuming their normal appearance. The barrier is already thin here, Gabriel explained, watching the anomalous snow. Material and spiritual realms bleeding into each other naturally. Perfect, Naruto said, studying the mountains ahead. Where exactly should we go? Kakashi pointed to the central peak, where a strange distortion could be seen, like heat waves in summer, but surrounded by snow and ice. The local samurai avoid that area. They say it's where the spirit wolves cross over to hunt souls. Cheery, Sakura muttered, pulling her cloak tighter against the cold. They trekked upward, the terrain growing increasingly strange as they ascended. Rocks that appeared solid would occasionally allow a hand to pass through them. Patches of ground shifted underfoot, as if reality itself couldn't quite decide on its nature. By midday, they reached a plateau near the central peak. Here, the boundary between worlds was visibly unstable, the air rippled constantly, occasional glimpses of another landscape superimposing over the snowy mountaintop. Ghostly trees, strange formations, and shadow-like creatures flashed in and out of perception. This is it, Gabriel confirmed. A natural weak point between the material world and the spirit realm. Naruto moved to the center of the plateau, feeling the fluctuating energies around him. His markings responded, pulsing and flowing more rapidly. What exactly are you planning to do? Sakura asked, eyeing the unstable boundary with concern. Stabilize it, Naruto replied, rolling up his sleeves to expose his marked arms fully. The crucible core showed me how opposing energies can flow together to create flexible stability. I'm going to try to apply that principle here, create a membrane that allows controlled exchange rather than random bleed-through. Gabriel nodded approval. Start small. Focus on a single point before attempting the entire area. Taking a deep breath, Naruto extended his hands toward a particularly unstable section where the air rippled most violently. Calling upon his new understanding, he channeled both divine and demonic energy simultaneously, directing them into a circular pattern between his palms. A disk of swirling gold and black formed, spinning faster as he concentrated. With careful precision, he pushed the disk toward the distortion. As it made contact, the rippling intensified briefly before beginning to stabilize, the random flashes of the spirit realm becoming more consistent, more controlled. It's working, Gabriel observed, watching intently. The boundary is restructuring. Encouraged, Naruto expanded the effect, widening the disk to cover more of the distorted area. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold, the precision required taking significant concentration. The fluctuations are decreasing, Kakashi noted, his Sharingan exposed to better track the changes. The barrier isn't sealing, but it's organizing somehow. That was exactly what Naruto intended. Not to close the connection between realms, but to structure it, to create a stable interface where exchange could occur without chaos. As the effect spread, something unexpected happened. Ghostly forms began to materialize more fully on the plateau, spirit wolves, just as the legends described. But rather than appearing randomly, they now emerged through specific points in the newly structured barrier, points that glowed with a mixture of gold and black energy. The largest wolf, a massive beast with fur like smoke and eyes like embers, approached Naruto. It showed no aggression, merely curiosity as it studied him. They recognize what you're doing, Gabriel explained softly. The spirits have been trying to navigate this broken boundary for centuries. The wolf inclined its massive head, almost a bow, before turning and leaping back through one of the structured portals, not vanishing chaotically, but transitioning smoothly between realms. Naruto maintained his concentration, expanding the effect until it covered the entire plateau. The random distortion ceased entirely, replaced by a stable, visible boundary that pulsed with intertwined light and shadow. At regular intervals, small, well-defined portals remained, allowing controlled passage between the material and spirit realms. Finally, satisfied with the result, Naruto lowered his hands. The restructured barrier remained in place, self-sustaining now that the pattern had been established. You did it, Sakura breathed, amazed. It's beautiful. And it was. The barrier now resembled a vast, shimmering membrane, gold and black energies flowing in intricate patterns that somehow made perfect sense, like a natural law finally revealed. How do you feel? Kakashi asked, noting Naruto's exhausted but exhilarated expression. Tired. But good. Naruto flexed his fingers, watching the markings flow smoothly across his skin. It worked even better than I expected. The barrier wanted to be fixed. It just needed the right kind of energy to restructure itself. Gabriel walked the perimeter of the plateau, examining the newly stabilized boundary. This is remarkable, Naruto. You haven't simply patched the weak spot, you've transformed it into a functional interface between realms. Can this be applied on a larger scale? Kakashi asked. To the barriers between all worlds? Naruto nodded slowly. I think so. But it would require significantly more power, and a central point where all realms connect. The Axis Mundi, Gabriel suggested. The World Tree at the Nexus. Exactly. Naruto sat down on a rock, catching his breath. This was just a test run. Proof of concept. The real work will have to happen there. As they discussed next steps, none of them immediately noticed the new presence on the plateau, a figure that stepped through one of the structured portals from the spirit realm side. Impressive work, Naruto Uzumaki. They turned sharply to find a woman standing nearby. Tall and regal, with features that seemed vaguely familiar to Naruto though he couldn't place why. Her hair was deep red, flowing around her like living flame despite the absence of wind. Her eyes shifted color as she spoke, cycling through gold, violet, and deepest black. Gabriel immediately tensed. Reconciler. The woman smiled, the expression both warm and dangerous. Gabriel. It's been, what, 2 millennia? 3. You look well, dear. Naruto stood, instinctively moving between his companions and the newcomer. Who are you? I have many names, she replied easily. The Reconciler is one of them. The Balancer, another. Some have called me Fate, though I find that rather grandiose. She studied Naruto with obvious interest. But you may call me Kushina, if you prefer. It seems fitting, given the face I've chosen. Naruto stared, shock rendering him momentarily speechless. The woman indeed resembled his mother, though with an otherworldly quality that made it clear she was something else entirely. What do you want? He finally managed. To meet you, of course. She circled him slowly, examining the markings on his skin. The Son of Confluence. The bridge between realms. The first being in eons capable of true balance. Her smile widened. You've exceeded expectations, restructuring this barrier so elegantly. Gabriel moved closer to Naruto. Be careful. The Reconciler serves neither heaven nor hell, but has her own agenda. All true, the woman agreed cheerfully. Though agenda sounds so scheming. I prefer purpose or vision. And what is your vision? Kakashi asked carefully. The Reconciler, wearing Kushina's face, spread her hands. Balance, of course. True balance, not the artificial separation imposed after the schism. She focused on Naruto again. Which is why you interest me so greatly, dear boy. You are the living embodiment of what I've worked toward for eons, the reconciliation of opposing forces. Naruto frowned. If you're so interested in balance, why not help? Why just watch from the sidelines? Oh, but I have helped, she replied, her eyes twinkling. More than you know. Who do you think ensured your creation was possible? Who guided those specific essences of divine and demonic power to coincide in one human vessel? Gabriel's expression hardened. You engineered him. Violated the compact between realms? Engineered is such a cold word, the Reconciler protested. I simply created opportunity. The rest unfolded naturally. She reached out as if to touch Naruto's face, though she stopped just short of contact. A perfect convergence. My greatest work. Naruto stepped back, uncomfortable with both her proximity and her claims. So you made me as some kind of experiment? A tool for your balance project? Her expression softened, becoming almost maternal. Not a tool, Naruto. A catalyst. A beginning. She gestured to the restructured barrier around them. Look what you've accomplished already. Imagine what you could do with proper guidance. Your guidance, I assume, Naruto said skeptically. Who better, she countered. I stand outside the factions, beyond the petty politics of heaven and hell. I see the larger pattern. Sakura, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. If you care about Naruto as more than a tool, why appear now? Why not help him understand his nature from the beginning? The Reconciler turned her shifting gaze to Sakura. Some lessons must be learned, not taught. Some powers must be discovered, not granted. She looked back to Naruto. You needed to find your own path, forge your own understanding. Had I interfered too soon, you might have simply followed rather than led. There was logic to her words, but something still felt off to Naruto. Something calculated beneath the warm exterior. What exactly do you want from me? He asked directly. Partnership, she replied without hesitation. Together, we could remake the cosmos as it was meant to be, not divided into artificial kingdoms, but a flowing continuum of interconnected realms. No more heaven versus hell, no more material versus spiritual. Her eyes blazed with intensity. True balance, Naruto. True harmony. Gabriel stepped forward. And who would govern this new order? You. The reconciler laughed. Governance implies hierarchy. I speak of a natural order, self-sustaining through the proper flow of energies. She extended her hand toward Naruto. What I offer is completion of what you've already begun. Your power, my knowledge. Together, we could accomplish in days what might otherwise take you years. Naruto looked at her outstretched hand, tempted despite his misgivings. If she truly had the knowledge she claimed, it could accelerate his efforts immeasurably. The deadline Michael had imposed loomed ever closer. But as he studied her more carefully, he noticed something concerning. The energy around her, visible to his enhanced perception, didn't flow like his own. Where his divine and demonic aspects moved in harmony, hers seemed locked in constant struggle, one temporarily suppressing the other before being suppressed in turn. Not balance, but dominance shifting sides. No, he said finally. I appreciate the offer, but I'll find my own way. Her expression didn't change, but the temperature around them dropped noticeably. You refuse my guidance. After all I've done to bring you into existence. I'm grateful for life, Naruto replied carefully. But I don't owe you my future because of it. If balance is really your goal, you should be happy I'm figuring things out, with or without your help. The reconciler studied him for a long moment, her eyes cycling through colors more rapidly now. You've been influenced against me, she concluded, glancing at Gabriel. The angels fear what we could accomplish together. The angels fear lots of things, Naruto countered. Doesn't mean they're always wrong. Something flashed across her features, anger, quickly suppressed. Very well. I respect your choice, for now. But remember this offer when the weight of worlds begins to crush you. When Michael's deadline approaches and you find yourself still unprepared. Her form began to shimmer, becoming less solid. I'll be waiting, son of confluence. When you're ready to truly change everything. With those words, she stepped backward into one of the portals, vanishing into the spirit realm. As she disappeared, Naruto felt the barrier fluctuate slightly before stabilizing again. Well, Kakashi said after a moment of tense silence. That was unexpected. Who was she? Naruto asked Gabriel. Really? Gabriel's expression was troubled. A very old, very powerful entity. One of the first beings created after the universe itself. She claims to seek balance, but her methods are questionable. She engineered your birth, apparently, Sakura added, looking concerned. Which raises a lot of questions about, well, everything. Naruto rubbed his temples, feeling a headache forming. Great. So not only am I some cosmic hybrid, I'm also somebody's long-term science project. Her appearance is significant, Gabriel mused. She rarely involves herself directly. If she's revealing herself now. She's worried I might succeed without her, Naruto concluded. That whatever plan she's been working on for eons might happen differently than she intended. Gabriel nodded slowly. Possibly. The reconciler has always worked through intermediaries, manipulating events from the shadows. Direct intervention suggests urgency. Or opportunity, Kakashi suggested. Maybe what Naruto did here, he gestured to the restructured barrier, caught her attention specifically. Naruto looked around at the stable interface he'd created between realms. It continued to function perfectly, the portals allowing controlled exchange exactly as he'd intended. Proof that his approach worked. Whatever her game is, I'm not playing it, he decided firmly. I've got my own path now. And it starts with getting back to the Axis Mundi to apply this on a larger scale. The original plan remains sound, Gabriel agreed. But we should move quickly. If the reconciler has revealed herself, others will soon follow. As if to emphasize her point, a distant rumble of thunder sounded from the clear sky, a warning that forces beyond the material world were stirring. No rest for the cosmically complicated, Naruto sighed, getting to his feet. Let's go change reality. They descended from the Three Wolves Mountains as quickly as conditions allowed, the wind and snow intensifying as if the weather itself responded to cosmic tensions. By nightfall, they had reached the foothills and made camp in a sheltered cave. As Sakura and Kakashi gathered firewood, Naruto sat near the cave entrance, watching the storm outside. His markings glowed softly in the growing darkness, casting patterns of light and shadow across the stone walls. Gabriel joined him, her normally perfect appearance slightly disheveled from their hard travel. Something about this made her seem more approachable, more human. "You're troubled," she observed quietly. Naruto nodded. "Finding out some ancient cosmic being orchestrated my entire existence is kind of a lot to process." "Understandably. Was anything in my life actually my choice?" Naruto continued, the question that had been nagging at him. "Or was it all just her grand plan playing out?" Gabriel considered this carefully. "The reconciler may have arranged for your creation, but she couldn't determine who you would become. The choices you've made, your values, your bonds, your determination to forge your own path, those are truly yours." Naruto smiled faintly. "You sound pretty confident for someone who just found out about this too." "I've existed for a very long time, Naruto. I've seen countless attempts to control destiny. They always fail in the same way. Free will remains the one force no power in creation can truly override." She looked at him directly. "Even God respects the autonomy of choice." "Does he?" Naruto asked skeptically. "Seems like everyone's been trying to push me one way or another since this started. Influence, yes. Control, no." Gabriel glanced outside at the storm. "If your choices were predetermined, the reconciler wouldn't have needed to appear in person to persuade you. The fact that she tried to recruit you rather than simply activate some embedded compulsion proves your autonomy." Naruto hadn't considered that angle. "I guess that makes sense. What will you do now?" Gabriel asked. "Now that you know someone engineered your existence for a specific purpose." Naruto thought about it, watching the snow swirl outside. "Same thing I was already doing. Fix what's broken. Protect what matters. Find my own way." He shrugged. "Just because someone created me for their plan doesn't mean I have to follow it." Gabriel smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her usually serious features. "And that, Naruto Uzumaki, is why I believe in you. Despite everything heaven taught me about absolutes and predetermined roles." Naruto looked at her curiously. "Why did you help me? Really? You could have just followed orders, tried to eliminate me if I seemed dangerous." Gabriel was silent for a moment, organizing her thoughts. "When I first saw you, I expected to find a monster, a chaotic amalgamation of forces that shouldn't coexist. What I found instead was, a person. Struggling, yes. Powerful, certainly. But fundamentally human in all the ways that matter." She looked down at her own hands. "It made me question what I'd been taught about opposition and incompatibility. If you could exist, divine and demonic in one being, what other impossibilities might actually be possible?" "So I'm your philosophical crisis," Naruto teased. Gabriel's lips quirked upward. "You're my evidence that the universe is more complex and adaptable than even angels were taught. And that, Naruto, is profoundly liberating." Something shifted between them in that moment, a deepening of understanding, of connection. Not romance yet, but the foundation for it. Kakashi and Sakura returned with firewood, interrupting the moment. As they built a fire and prepared a simple meal, plans were discussed for reaching the Nexus as quickly as possible. "If we continue at this pace, we could reach the anchor point in 5 days, Kakashi estimated. But that's assuming no interference. A significant assumption, Gabriel noted. After today's events, I expect both heaven and hell will increase their monitoring. Not to mention the reconciler, Sakura added. She didn't seem like someone who takes rejection well. Naruto considered their options. We need a faster way to travel. Something unexpected. He turned to Gabriel. Can you still access heaven's pathways? The direct routes between locations? She shook her head. Not without alerting Michael to our exact position. Those pathways are monitored constantly. What about the reverse? Naruto suggested. Hellgates? Demonic passages? Dangerous, Gabriel warned. Extremely dangerous, especially for me. And they would almost certainly alert Lucifer's forces. There might be a third option, Kakashi interjected, thoughtful. The scroll mentioned the crucible was connected to multiple anchor points. If the Temple of the Sage was one, and we've already been recognized by the crucible. Gabriel's eyes widened slightly. We might be able to use the crucible itself as a transit system. Enter at one anchor point, exit at another closer to the nexus. Can we do that? Sakura asked. After what happened last time, with both sides trying to breach it. It's risky, Gabriel admitted. But potentially viable. The crucible recognized Naruto as a legitimate user. If he requests passage. Worth a shot, Naruto decided. Better than walking right into patrols from either side. He looked at Gabriel. Where's the nearest crucible anchor point from here? She considered. According to the scroll, there should be one in the mountains bordering Wind Country. A place called the Silent Cathedral. Kakashi nodded recognition. I've heard of it. Abandoned ruins that predate the hidden villages. Said to be haunted. All the best places are, Naruto quipped, his spirit lifting now that they had a plan. We head there tomorrow, try to use the crucible as a shortcut, and hopefully reach the nexus with enough time to implement what I learned today. As the others prepared for sleep, Naruto stepped outside briefly, needing a moment alone. The storm had calmed somewhat, the snow falling more gently now. He extended his hand, catching snowflakes on his marked palm and watching them melt against the swirling patterns of gold and black. So much had changed in such a short time. His identity, his understanding of the universe, his place within it. Yet beneath all the cosmic complications, he remained Naruto Uzumaki, stubborn, determined, loyal to his friends and his principles. If the reconciler thought she'd created a tool she could eventually control, she'd miscalculated badly. Whatever purpose she'd intended for him, he would find his own. Whatever balance she envisioned, he would forge a better one. With renewed determination, he returned to the cave, ready for whatever challenges tomorrow would bring. The journey to the Silent Cathedral took 3 days of hard travel across increasingly desolate terrain. As they approached the border of Wind Country, the landscape transformed from snowy mountains to arid plateaus dotted with twisted, petrified trees. The cathedral itself was visible from miles away, a massive structure of pale stone that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unlike traditional religious buildings, it had no spires or towers, instead spreading outward in concentric rings of decreasing height, like a stepped pyramid in reverse. No windows pierced its walls, and a single vast doorway gaped open like a mouth. Welcoming, Sakura commented dryly as they approached. Gabriel studied the structure with obvious recognition. This isn't actually a cathedral. It's a waypoint, a transit hub between dimensions that predates human civilization. Why does it look like this? Naruto asked, noting how the stone seemed to shift slightly when not viewed directly. It doesn't, really, Gabriel explained. Your mind is interpreting a higher dimensional structure as something familiar. Others might see it differently. As if confirming her words, Kakashi tilted his head. Interesting. To my Sharingan, it appears as a series of interconnected geometric patterns, not a building at all. They approached cautiously, alert for signs of guardian entities or defenses. Unlike the Temple of the Sage with its circle of columns, the silent cathedral stood alone in a vast, empty plain, no other structures visible for miles. "This feels wrong," Sakura observed as they neared the entrance. "Like we're being watched from every direction." "We probably are," Gabriel replied. "Waypoints exist partially in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Beings from various realms can observe without physically manifesting." The entrance loomed before them, a perfect arch twice the height of a man, leading into absolute darkness that seemed almost solid. "How do we activate it?" Naruto asked, studying the doorway with his enhanced perception. Unlike the temple's columns, the cathedral showed no obvious sigils or markings. "The same way as before," Gabriel suggested. "The waypoint should recognize you." Naruto stepped forward, extending his hand toward the darkness. As his marked fingers approached, the void within the doorway responded, rippling like the surface of a pool, colors swirling within its depths. "It's responding," Gabriel confirmed. "Focus your intent. Visualize the location nearest to the nexus." Closing his eyes, Naruto concentrated on the Axis Mundi as he had seen it, the massive world tree at the center of all realms. His markings flared brightly, energy flowing from his hand into the rippling darkness. The void within the doorway shifted, deepening and clarifying until it showed a new location, a forest of crystalline trees, their transparent trunks and branches refracting light into rainbow patterns. The crystal glade, Gabriel identified it with surprise. "That's less than a day's journey from the nexus. Is it safe?" Kakashi asked, eyeing the portal with justified caution. "As safe as any interdimensional travel can be," Gabriel replied. "The waypoint has accepted Naruto's authority and established a direct path." Before they could step through, however, the crystalline forest image wavered, briefly showing a different scene, a throne room of obsidian and fire, where a darkly majestic figure sat watching with evident interest. "Lucifer," Gabriel hissed, tensing. "He's monitoring the pathways." The image shifted again, this time showing a chamber of pure light where multiple winged figures gathered around a viewing pool, their expressions concerned. "As is heaven," Gabriel added grimly. "Both sides are tracking interdimensional activity." The portal stabilized again on the crystal glade, but the message was clear, their movement would not go unnoticed. "Do we have a choice?" Naruto asked, looking to his companions. "Not if we want to reach the nexus in time," Kakashi concluded. "We take our chances with the portal." Naruto nodded resolution. "Together, on 3. 1, 2, wait." A voice called from behind them. They spun to find a figure approaching rapidly across the plain, a young woman with long dark hair and pale eyes that Naruto recognized immediately. "Hinata," he gasped in shock. "What are you doing here?" Hinata Hyuga ran the last few yards to join them, slightly out of breath but determined. "Lady Tsunade sent me to find you. Important information." She glanced at the portal, then back to Naruto. "The reconciler has been to Konoha." "What?" Naruto and Gabriel exclaimed simultaneously. Hinata nodded. 3 days ago. She appeared in the Hokage's office, looking like your mother, Naruto. Said she was there to warn us." "Warn about what?" Sakura demanded. "A convergence. She said all forces, heaven, hell, and others, are gathering at the nexus. Something about a cosmic reset that occurs when the barriers fail completely." Hinata looked at Naruto with concern. "She said you were walking into a trap." Gabriel's expression darkened. "She's trying to manipulate you again. Creating doubt before your final approach." "Or she's telling the truth," Naruto countered. "Partial truth, anyway. If everyone's gathering at the nexus. It could be a slaughter," Kakashi finished his thought. "Or an opportunity." Naruto turned to Hinata. "Did she say anything else? Anything specific about this convergence?" Hinata nodded. "She said it happens cyclically, every few thousand years. The barriers thin naturally, and either they're reinforced or they collapse entirely, causing reality to reset. She looked troubled. She claimed this cycle was her responsibility to manage, but that you were disrupting the natural progression. Gabriel looked sharply at Naruto. This changes things. If what she says is true, and I emphasize if, then the thinning barriers aren't just a recent problem. They're part of a cosmic maintenance cycle. And I'm what? Messing with the schedule? Naruto asked incredulously. Or offering an alternative solution, Gabriel suggested. One that threatens whoever controls the current cycle. Naruto paced before the portal, processing this new information. So the reconciler might not want balance at all. She might just want to maintain her control over this reset process. It would explain her interest in you, Sakura pointed out. If your ability to restructure barriers directly challenges her authority, she wouldn't be offering partnership, Naruto concluded. She'd be trying to neutralize a threat. Hinata looked between them, clearly trying to follow the complex implications. Lady Tsunade said to tell you she's mobilizing all available forces. If this becomes a multidimensional conflict with Konoha at the center, we need to move now, Naruto decided, turning back to the portal. Before the reconciler can set whatever she's planning in motion. He looked at Hinata. Are you coming with us? Determination set her features. Lady Tsunade sent me to help, not just deliver a message. I'm coming. Gabriel addressed them all. If multiple cosmic forces are indeed gathering at the Nexus, we'll be walking into unprecedented danger. The last time such a convergence occurred was during the original schism between God and Satanael. No pressure or anything, Naruto quipped, though his expression remained serious. Let's go save reality. Again. Together, the now 5-person group stepped through the portal into the crystal glade beyond, leaving the silent cathedral behind. As the portal closed behind them, the cathedral itself seemed to shift, its concentric rings rotating slowly before settling into a new configuration, one that hadn't existed for thousands of years. A configuration that signaled the beginning of the end of a cycle. The crystal glade was breathtaking, trees of living crystal stretching hundreds of feet skyward, their transparent structures refracting light in cascades of color that painted the ground in ever-shifting patterns. The air itself seemed charged with possibility, tiny motes of light drifting like luminous pollen. It's beautiful, Hinata whispered, her Byakugan active as she took in the otherworldly landscape. And dangerous, Gabriel cautioned, moving forward cautiously. The crystal glade exists at a junction point between multiple realms. Reality here is fluid. Naruto could feel it, the thinness of barriers in this place, the way multiple dimensions pressed against each other like pages in a book. His markings responded to the environment, flowing more rapidly across his skin. How far to the Nexus from here? He asked Gabriel. Normally, less than a day's journey, she replied. But distance works differently between realms. It depends as much on intent and resonance as physical movement. Kakashi scanned their surroundings. Are we likely to encounter resistance here? Gabriel considered this. Not from the indigenous entities, the crystal glade is considered neutral territory by most realms. But if the reconciler was telling the truth about forces gathering, we should expect company sooner rather than later, Sakura finished. They moved through the dazzling forest, following Gabriel's lead. Occasionally, strange creatures would be visible among the crystal trees, beings of pure light, multifaceted entities that resembled moving geometric patterns, serpentine forms that phased in and out of visibility. Liminal entities, Gabriel explained when Hinata asked about them. Beings native to the spaces between worlds. Most are simply curious about travelers. And the others? Hinata pressed. Less curious, more hungry, Gabriel replied. But they rarely attack groups. As they progressed deeper into the glade, the crystal trees grew larger and more complex, their structures forming. Something went wrong with this response, please try again. Continue by opening the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.